We'd like to start the today's Business Management Committee meeting, and the first item is the approval of the February 27th meeting. Can I have a motion and a second? It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, please vote. What's that? Okay, the motion passes. The next item is a resolution authorizing the modification of contractual authorization for the Trapeze Management Agreement System RFP P34-149, led by Jonathan Weaver, Manager of Operations Technology. Jonathan?
Morning. Morning. Board members, my name is Jonathan Weaver. I'm the Manager of Operations Technology, and I'm here today to request your approval for the funding to optimize our enterprise asset management system. This will ensure we get the most out of our substantial investment in our CQ400 railcars. MARTA's investment in the CQ400 railcars signifies our commitment to modern transit. These advanced cars enhance service and passenger experience. To maximize this investment's return, effective management is crucial. While our EAM system is foundational, strategic upgrades are essential. These upgrades will empower our teams to efficient workflows to manage these assets for decades, safeguarding MARTA's investment and ensuring optimal performance. MARTA's Trapeze Master Agreement delivers essential technology solutions underpinning our daily operations, including our Enterprise Asset Management System, or EAM. EAM is fundamental to our asset and maintenance management, supporting the effective oversight of over 90,000 assets as we process on an average of 70,000 work orders. Beyond EAM, the agreement supports fixed route scheduling, paratransit, CAT AVL, which is now Vontas, and enhances our traveler experience. EAM enables resource planning for our nearly 1,300 staff, time tracking, fleet performance reporting, fuel and fluid management, full asset lifecycle analysis, driving optimized operations so we can make data-driven decisions. The EAM optimization will provide MARTA with a comprehensive system for managing all aspects of our assets. By bringing together data from across departments, we'll gain a holistic view of each car's health, empowering us to shift to a predictive maintenance model. This proactive approach will minimize downtime, extending the life of these valuable assets, and ultimately enhancing the reliability of our service for our riders. Just as we are investing in modernizing our fleet, the EAM optimization is a crucial step in modernizing the software that supports its upkeep. This investment represents less than 0.5% of the total car cost, and it's essential to protect our investment in the assets for the long term to ensure we're operating effectively and efficiently as possible. So the EAM P2 project represents a significant advancement in MARTA's asset management strategy. We're implementing predictive maintenance to anticipate the needs and minimize disruptions, while migrating to the cloud for enhanced accessibility and data security. We'll have material optimization that will streamline spare parts management, reducing costs and ensuring availability. Existing module configuration will tailor the EAM system to specific workflows, improving efficiency. And additionally, we are establishing clear asset hierarchies for better organization. We're providing comprehensive staff training for effective system utilization and implementing accurate, reliable reporting to inform data-driven decisions. These improvements will modernize our maintenance operations, ultimately enhancing service reliability for our riders. I respectfully request the Business Management Committee recommend approval of the resolution to modify our agreement with Trapeze. This modification will allow us to implement the EAM optimization project that requires an increase of the contract of $2,904,267, bringing the total amount of the contract to $44,952,910. An internal audit determined these project costs to be fair and reasonable, and funding for this project is already allocated within the approved fiscal budget. I now return it back to you, Chairman Pond.
Thank you, Jonathan. Could I have a motion and a second, please? It's properly moved and seconded. Are there any questions from Mr. Weaver? I guess you covered everything.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair Pond, I do have a question. I just want to understand, I'm looking at the legal consideration. This might be directed toward Mr. Hunt. Section 14A of the MARTA Act provides that the competitive bid shall not be required for the acquisition of items unavailable in the marketplace. So what does that say, Mr. Hunt, that this is, what does that mean? Help me understand that first.
Actually, for this one,
And then I'll ask you a question.
Board Member Frierson, we actually didn't really need a legal consideration here. That's more along the lines for a sole or single source. So
All
that
right.
actually could have been left blank.
Okay, so we
Because
are,
it's an existing contract that was originally competitively procured.
okay, for the original contract. So we are allowed to get competitive bids on this. That's fair to say? Help me understand.
This is Mrs. Holland, the
Mrs.
head of
Howard,
our
okay.
Good morning, Mr.
procurement office.
Frierson. This procurement was originally a sole source.
Mhm.
So it wasn't out there in the marketplace, it wasn't competed, Jonathan. So that's why the information from the MARTA Act is stated there.
Okay, and so this was a 4-year contract, and we've continued to extend it. Is there any effort to try to go into the marketplace to get something competitive? That's-
I would leave
I can
that,
answer part of
okay.
that, yes.
All right.
So yeah, I understand your point about ensuring that we're getting the most reliable, fair price for the enterprise asset management system that's being provided currently by Trapeze. We have 4 years left on this, that I feel like that we should create requirements to go out for bid for an asset management software. I'm completely with you. Here's the thing. We're going to get 3 bidders. There's 3 big software companies in this field of transit, IBM, Infor, and Trapeze, that are able to have the ability to cover the types of assets that MARTA would require. So I think that we should, so we understand that we are getting the most fair and reasonable
Right.
price, but just be forewarned that there's not a lot in this space. We're going to come back with essentially the same thing. And to be the incumbent that we've had for so long, like I said, managing over 90,000 assets and so many years of doing this, it would be a huge undertaking to change to a new provider at this point.
Okay. Rhonda wanted to add to this. Go ahead, Rhonda.
And just to add a little bit more context in that, we've not been using, this contract isn't solely for EAM. So Trapeze, there's probably about 20 modules that we use Trapeze for, including planning, scheduling software, software that's used for customer service. So again, about 20 or so. And so when you look at that huge price and that length of time,
Yeah.
it covers, he's only speaking to part of it that he's working on. And so when he talks about, going out for a competitive bid for a particular module, he's able to do that in the near future if he likes. And we're also looking at these modules separately to determine if we should do that for the other modules that we're using with Trapeze.
Okay, all right. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for the information.
Any other questions? Can you please vote?
Ms. Pollock. Yeah, I figured it might be because you can try to second it when and it can click no.
Thank you.
Resolution passes.
Thank you.
The next item is a resolution to authorize the modification for the diverse fiber routing network infrastructure, and that'll be led by Tyson Morris, Assistant GM for Technology.
Good morning, Chairman Pond, Vice Chair Durrett, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Hurley, and other members of the Business Management Committee. My name is Tyson Morris. I'm the AGM CIO of Technology. I'm here to present the request for a resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for the Diverse Fiber Routing Network Infrastructure P40186. A major goal for the authority is reliability. For the technology department, one of these supporting deliverables is to provide a consistent uptime for our network infrastructure. We are implementing a diverse fiber architecture using our fiber optic network, which will enable multiple pathways to keep data flowing smoothly. This network supports numerous services such as our CCTV cameras, digital signs, ticket vending machines, fare gates, data transmission, and radio communications. Instead of relying on a single connection, a diverse fiber network uses backup routes to prevent disruptions. Think of it as having a Peach Pass, or more ideally a BRT, that allows you to reach your destination quickly despite a slowdown from traffic or a wreck on the main interstate. The benefits of a diverse fiber network will provide the desired reliability by automatically rerouting traffic to another path to ensure uninterrupted service and availability. This architecture will allow MARTA to maintain business continuity and by minimizing downtime and disruptions, thus strengthening our disaster recovery capabilities. It will improve performance by optimizing the proper bandwidth usage. And lastly, it will enhance our network security by removing the possibility for a single point of failure in the event of a cyber incident. When the equipment for the initial sites were installed, the new connections were turned on and became active with AT&T, and thus MARTA started incurring charges the project was not expecting to have until the remaining installations had been completed. Therefore, ratification is being requested, which seeks to address the work that was conducted prematurely without the requisite approval. In response to this unapproved action, we have instituted measures to restrict access to the AT&T portal, ensuring that all requests must now be directed through the project manager and the department director for proper authorization. Additionally, the Department of Internal Audit performed a cost-price analysis and determined that the amount of $5,469,524.90 was supported with sufficient documentation and considered fair and reasonable. The remaining amount of $85,119.10 was unsubstantiated and is the estimate based on previous billings that the Department of Technology has identified for surcharges. In total, this modification will ensure we correctly allocate the time and funds necessary to complete the remaining 34 sites designated for the implementation, as well as to support the recurring connectivity fees associated with all 52 sites over the next 5 years. The original contract awarded on August 9th, 2018 was valued at $4,339,000 for a 5-year base term. The combined ratification and contract modification increases the contract value by $5,554,000 and $642. This brings the total, the max total contract value amount to $9,893,642. This 5-year contract extension is funded with local operating funds, and funds for the subsequent fiscal years will be included in the subsequent annual budgets. In conclusion, the Department of Technology kindly requests that the Business Management Committee recommend the approval of the resolution authorizing a modification and contractual authorization for the Diverse Fiber Routing Network Infrastructure P40186. Thank you. Now I return the floor to you, Chairman Pond.
Thank you, Tyson. Could we have a motion and a second? Been properly moved and seconded. Any questions for Mr. Morris? I see none, so can we please vote?
Chairman Pond. Hey, I don't have it. It's the vote's not coming up for me.
Yeah, I see we're missing one, so. The motion will pass, so why don't we record that as a yes? We'll move on. So the motion passes.
Thank you so much.
The next item is a resolution authorizing a modification for the general counsel and other legal services, and that'll be led by Jonathan Patel, Director of Corporate Law.
Good morning, Chair Pond, Vice Chair Durrett, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Hurley, and members of the Business Management Committee. I'm Janki Patel, Director of Corporate Law, and I'm here today to request a modification in contractual obligation for a general counsel and other legal services contract P46721. In 2020, the authority competitively solicited for RFP P46721 general counsel and other legal services. At the end of 2020, the board approved a $21 million budget for this contract with several law firms. Currently, there are 30 law firms engaged to represent MARTA under this contract. The original contracts were awarded to the firms on February 1st of 2021 for a 5-year base term. This modification is going to increase the term an additional 3 years and increase the total contract value to be $37,500,000. And here's the breakdown of how we get to that number. So the current contract is worth $21 million. We are seeking an additional $16.5 million, taking this total to $37.5 million. And the increase in budgetary request is primarily due to we're seeing an uptick in lawsuits coming into our office. There is an increase in jury awards across the state, as well as an increasing need for outside counsel support on our expansion projects. An audit is not required from our Department of Internal Audit for this, as the firms have all agreed to hold their existing rates. And there are no additional DBE goals since this is a request to increase funding. Therefore, I respectfully request that this Business Management Committee recommend approval of the resolution authorizing a modification in contractual authorization for general counsel and other legal services P46721. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Pond.
Thank you, Ms. Patel. Could we have a motion and a second? It's been moved and seconded, properly moved and seconded. Any questions? Thomas?
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
how many law firms are under this? I know we have a multitude, so I don't need you to list them all, but how many law firms do we have?
Currently, there are 30.
30?
So all 30 contracts would be extended.
Okay.
Mr. Durrett?
Does MARTA benefit from action taken in the legislature this year?
We will when it if you're talking about the tort reform.
Yes.
Tort reform, yes.
Yeah, that's principally it's premises liability that we'll benefit from. It's been passed by the House and the Senate. It's not yet been signed by the governor, but something tells me that Governor Kemp will do an appropriate ceremonial signing at some point.
You think?
Yeah. But we will see some benefit.
All right, thank
It
you.
won't be immediate. It'll
Yeah.
take some time.
Thank you.
Mr. Zagabi?
Just a quick question. I was just looking at this, and just to confirm I understand here. So there's a 5-year contract. We had $21 million on it, so it's something like $4 million a year. And we're increasing it for the next essentially 2 years, so like $6 million a year.
3 years.
Oh, 3.
So initially it was 4.2 million per year. We're increasing it to 5.5 million.
Okay. So are we extending the base term as well, or is it
Yes.
just okay? That's helpful. All right. Thank you.
Ms. Ion?
That was one of my questions. And then, does this amount capture settlement amounts also, or this is only legal fees?
This amount does not capture settlements because that goes through risk management.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Durrett?
The rates, this was originally put together in 2020. What about the rates that the law firms will be using during the extension of the contract?
So we have seen some rate increases throughout the 5 years, but currently what we are paying is what the firms have agreed to hold.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hunt? Finished? Okay. Any other questions? Can we please vote? The motion passes. Under other matters, we have the February financial highlights and key performance information. That's for our information only, that information you've been provided. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? If not, the meeting is adjourned.
Our March 27th Planning and Capital Programming Committee meeting here at MARTA. The first agenda item that we have is an approval of the February 27th, 2025 Planning and Capital Programs Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion on these in a second? All right, moved to second. Any questions? If not, please vote. The motion passes. All right. With that, we'll move to our second agenda item, resolution authorizing the award of a contract for MARTA Fresh Produce Market, IFB B50601. Mr. Michael Rafsoon will be giving us an update. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Zagabe and members of the committee. My name is Michael Rafsoon in MARTA's Transit-Oriented Development Department, and I am here asking for a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for MARTA Fresh Produce Market, IFB B50601. So what is MARTA Market? So MARTA Market brings locally sourced fresh produce and products to MARTA stations for MARTA customers and the surrounding community. MARTA Market fits within our TOD principles and MARTA's principles to foster vibrant, sustainable communities that are genuinely integrated with transit. Some of the goals for the MARTA Market program are combating food insecurity, supporting local agriculture, and fostering healthy, resilient, and sustainable communities. Now, I do want to highlight both the benefit from the surrounding community and our customers, as well as MARTA's effort to support local farmers and local agricultural industries that this program is supporting. Quick background on MARTA Market. So the MARTA Market program was born out of MARTA's concession program. So a USDA grant funded an initial 3-year pilot project in 2015. and that was initially launched at MARTA's West End station. Now, since its inception in 2015, we have expanded MARTA Market from operating at just one station to serving 7 locations in 2024. And so we have MARTA Markets at West End, H.E. Holmes, Bankhead Station, Kensington, College Park, 5 Points, and Doraville. These markets serve over 20,000 shoppers and distribute more than 40,000 pounds of produce on average each year. And so now the MARTA Market, it operates twice a year with 2 seasons. There's a winter market and the regular season. Markets typically run from late February to early December, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., with one station hosting the market each day. The markets offer a wide selection of fresh fruits, vegetables, produce, as well as ready-to-go eat options and some household items as well. And of course, due to the success of the program, MARTA has decided to continue that program for an additional 3 years under this contract. A little bit about the scope of this contract. So this is a 3-year term that requires our selected vendor to operate and manage the 7 existing MARTA markets. Items that will be included in those markets, of course, include fresh produce, fruit, vegetables, and other household items. We do want to ensure compliance, and so the vendor is responsible for managing sales, complying with local health and safety standards and regulations, and reporting inventory and financial reports to MARTA. And very importantly, we want them to build strong relationships with the local community and our customers who are using those markets to source their fresh produce. Now, for procurement considerations, we released an IFB in early December. Submissions were due early January. And now I'm here asking permission to award to a Georgia-based company that shares MARTA's mission and values, and that's Ritaza. Ritaza has relationships with local Georgia farmers, as you can see from the picture on the right. These are some of the counties where they're sourcing some of their produce. So not only are we providing great products, but we're supporting Georgia's local agricultural economy through this award. A 0% DBE goal was assigned because there's no certified DBE firms in this space. And now we're asking permission to award to the lowest responsive bidder, Ritaza. And now with that, I respectfully ask that the Department of Real Estate Development and Asset Management request the Planning Capital Programs Committee approval of the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for MARTA Fresh Produce Market, IFB B50601, to Ritaza in the amount of $360,396.12. And with that, I'll turn the floor back over.
All right, thank you very much for that update. Can we have a motion and a second, please? All right, any questions now that we've properly moved in second? Mr. Dirt.
Michael, who is the current vendor?
I believe it is Community Farmers Markets.
And they were they the ones that came in second in the bids here?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, I noticed that a USDA grant had been used to ramp this program up and I guess to sustain it to this point. Mm-hmm. How will this 3-year contract be paid for, and are we counting on federal grants?
So this, as it is now, this is funded under the current capital budget. There have been a number of federal grants that have supported it. We did apply this year for a USDA grant, and we were not awarded. However, this project was budgeted under the capital programs budget to continue.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Jones.
So also did not mean to vote against. I was screen flipping too fast. Excited about partnering with Ritaza. They do great work. I noticed there were 14 vendors that looked at the proposal, but only 2 bids. Did you get any response as to why they did not bid?
Frankly, I'm not sure. I do know that Ritaza was significantly lower than the other bid that we received. And so they were responsive, and given their responsiveness and the significantly lower cost. That's why Rataza was moving forward.
I think Jacqueline's got some insight on that.
Good morning. Yes, we do review after we receive bids, and we had a couple of plan rooms, folks who sell our bids. And then we had folks that didn't have the experience, they weren't able to perform the work. Most of them, about 8 companies, didn't respond to the bid. So about 14 firms downloaded the bid, but the other 12, that's how they responded. So a large number of them didn't give us any feedback, but yeah, okay.
I know we've discussed this probably ad nauseum, but just wanting to note that the response rate is, again, low for our RFPs. So just wondering how we can get more insight into why people aren't responding to the bids. Are they just looking, or is there a real reason for not responding?
I concur with what you're saying, and it depends on the contract. In many cases, you know, there are some roadblocks to doing business with MARTA, just being a large public entity, and there's a lot of rules that we advise or adhere to. In this case, I think it's more often the case that because it was new, there wasn't a lot of exposure to a lot of the agricultural suppliers. I'm encouraged by the initial 14, if Ms. Hollins, if I remember what Ms. Hollins said initially, and I think it's going to take some time for folks to, you know, become accustomed to the service that we provide. And in essence, I'm glad that there were more than just one bidder that had the bandwidth to meet, you know, the needs of all our counties. I think this does not include Clayton. Is that correct, Michael?
This does not. There is a separate program. We work with Witter in Clayton County.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah. So it's a large footprint, and so they're understandable that it's not going to be too many vendors that are ready to go. But I suspect by the next round of this, if this project is as successful as we expect it to be, that we'll have more interested bidders that will stay the course.
All right. Thank you. I'll just say very excited about this. Excited to head to a Tuesday at West End Station and buy some groceries for our family. So with that, I will not request any special pricing. I will pay full price. All right. If no more questions, we'll call the vote, please. All right. All in favor? The motion passes. With that, we'll head to our third agenda item. Resolution authorizing the award of a contract for temporary relocation facility for MPD K9 unit RFPP P50686, utilizing the Federal General Services Administration, GSA. Mr. Joshi will be giving us that update. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Chair Zagabe, Vice Chair Powers, Mr. Greenwood, Ms. Rocha, and members of the committee. Here's the slides. Here we go. All right. Well, MARTA Police Department K9 unit's in the process of having a new facility that's being created on the Armor Yard facility campus. And during this time, they're going to need a new space to continue their operations. So this effort, we're actually going to be procuring a semi-trailer. We call it an innovative semi-trailer unit, which is going to meet both ADA and MARTA design criteria, and we're going to be placing it on the northeast intersection of Armor Drive and Armor Circle. Basically, part of this procurement is going to include installation of the foundation, HVAC, and also the interiors. On the left-hand side here, you can see the existing facility. It is where the K9 unit currently resides. On the right-hand side, it's a smaller unit, but it is going to be a more efficient unit for the K9 unit on the same campus. The cost is $393,215. The procurement is being funded solely through local capital funds, and the lead time for delivery is 120 days. There's no DBE goal in this because this is a purchase through the U.S. General Services Administration. And so with that, we would like to request for the board to approve the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for a temporary relocation facility for the MARTA Police Department K-9 Unit, RFPPP 50686, procured through the General Services Administration in the amount of $393,215. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Joshi. Do we have a motion and a second? I see we've moved and seconded. Do we have any questions? Chair Ide.
Thank you. How long will, well, one, I keep on asking Chief Cryer to please bring one of these dogs for us to see. So he's shaking his head. So I'll have to come see them myself. How long will they be in the temporary facility, and then what is the plan after that?
Right now, we're looking at close to 2 years. We're in the planning. We're basically in the planning and design phase for the new facility that's going to be on the Armory Yard campus. So during that time frame, that's going to be the point at which we're going to be in this facility.
And is this temporary facility, is it reusable for something after the dogs, or is it built out just for kennels?
Yes, it is. No, it can be reused afterwards. It's actually 3 individual trailers. They would probably have to be modified, but I'm sure we could utilize them. We were talking about that potentially on a construction job site or other facilities.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Jones.
Hey, so you said it would be about 2 years before but this is for a base term of 1 year, so will you be coming back?
No, this is a procurement, right? So, yeah, we would not be coming back for this.
All right, Mr. Dirt.
Did we look into using Melissa Mullinix's backyard as a temporary location?
It was oddly unavailable.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to assume we've looked at all options, and we feel very good with our pathway forward.
Thank you.
So if no more questions, please vote. All right, I will not add the question as to who will be moving all the dogs, though I'm sure that will be a fun day. With that, the motion passes. Thank you very much, and we've got you for quite a roll.
Quite a roll, yeah.
So we'll move on to agenda item 4, resolution authorizing final acceptance of contract CP B31448, Perry Bus Facility Security Access and Site Lighting Upgrades. Floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'm just going to preface this. We've got the next 3 slide decks are essentially closeouts. It's part of our process in the capital program. As we get to the closeout phase, we archive our files. We go through and we do a final audit, and then at the conclusion, we come back to the board and release any remaining retainage, which is 0.1% of the contract value, or $5,000. So with that, we're going to kind of go through sort of what we've accomplished on these projects. This is Perry Bus Facility, just to kind of go over some scope and detail. This project essentially created an exterior perimeter lighting to the Perry Bus Facility. We also improved our fencing. We had secured access for both entry points on the driveways, as well as secured entry points to the actual facility itself. We also installed new CCTV cameras and its supporting infrastructure. So that was, and holistically, this was to improve the security for that facility. And on the right-hand side, you could see here, this is the CNG fueling facility, and you could see kind of a before and after of the improvements made by the lighting itself. We did reach out to the director of bus maintenance just to get a quote to find out how we did. And the lighting is greatly improved at the CNG fueling stations and has been very helpful moving forward. We intend to make similar improvements at our battery electric bus fast charger lanes and other bus garages. So they're kind of using this as a model for some of the future installations that we're doing. A few more photos. On the left here, we see the new perimeter fence. We had some fencing there. We also made it much more well lit and safer. Same thing goes with the bus parking facility as well there on the right. So for a contract closeout, board total authorization was $2,398,888. We had a settlement change order of $119,944. So the total contract value was $2,518,832, of which we retained $5,000, as I mentioned. And if we're able to move forward here with the closeout, we would release that back to the vendor, which is Astra. We did meet our DBE goal of 20%, and there's no pending charges or claims remaining on this program. So with that, we respectfully request approval of a resolution authorizing the final acceptance of contract CPB 31448, Perry Bus Facility Security Access and Site Lighting Upgrades.
All right, thank you very much.
you.
Do we have a motion and a second? All right, I see it's been moved and seconded. With that, any questions? No questions. We'll call the vote. Please vote. The voting has finished. The resolution is passed. Thank you very much. We'll head on to agenda item number 5, resolution authorizing the final acceptance of contract CPB 20200, CCTV system expansion. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you. We will kind of talk about, again, project scope. This is project was to furnish and install CCTV cameras, network switches, and supporting infrastructure. And we extended our CCTV surveillance now to administrative buildings, police facilities, as well as bus garages and rail yards. So this was basically all of the footprint has extended from our stations to all these additional facilities. And so with that, we also installed a video management system that was created by Genetec that now serves as the backbone for the entire CCTV network for our building facilities. This, again, is our goal was to satisfy MARTA's business strategy of enhancing safety and security. A few photographs of what we've installed. On the left-hand side, you can see one of our new cameras. It's a 360-degree camera, as well as we now are looking at coverage in front of a lot of our escalators and elevators. That was part of this enhancement. We now have new cameras with new capabilities, better resolution. We do have enhanced remote vision through the Genetec system, which is a top-notch system that serves as the backbone at this point. And the picture to the right is just showing how we expanded into our administrative areas, and that was just some of the construction effort that we had underway. So the board total authorization was for $7,994,900. We had 6 change orders of $59,850. Those are some quantity variations, as well of $1,596,263.43. Total contract value is $6,436,169.80. Total paid to date was $6,426,548.75. Amount remaining in retention is roughly $5,000. DBE goal was exceeded in this case of 18.5% over the 12% goal, and there are no pending charges and claims. Just to go back to the quantity variance, this was due to the fact that Brady Mobility Facility was de-scoped from this because it was a newer facility that had already installed some of this improvement, which was programmed for this program, but since they did it as part of that scope, we removed that. So that's the reason for the quantity variance. So with that, we will request for the board to approve the resolution authorizing the final acceptance for contract CPB 20200A CCTV system expansion.
All right, thank you very much. Can I have a motion and a second? I see it's been moved and seconded. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right. Well, just one comment, and just around this, this update we had earlier. We're spending tens of millions of dollars on CCTV, access control, fiber, and all of it is in the vein of making the system safer. And we're making a massive investment. I think it might be good at some point just to give the board an update on how we're viewing this and what the big picture vision is. I mean, this is a big investment, and I think we all believe in it. And I think it's also just good for folks to realize just how important this is and how many dollars we're putting into it. Not something that's urgent, but I do think this is key to keeping a safe system.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was going to wait till AJ was done, but I really wanted to just thank you and your team for putting an emphasis on this. When we started with our vision adjustment of taking people, we committed to focusing on a lot of the areas that our employees were telling us were important to them. So yeah, we have an outward focus in terms of security and perimeter fencing and lighting and CCTV on the public side, but making sure that our employees feel safe is so important. So I like what Chair Zagabe is saying. You need to create an opportunity to celebrate internally so that the employees understand just all the moves you're making on their behalf internally. So we'd be happy to make that happen.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. With that, please vote. All right, voting is finished. The motion passes. Thank you very much. And we continue. Agenda item 6, resolution authorizing final acceptance of contract RFP, P31223, standby power systems, generator replacement. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Again, we'll go into scope real quick. Essentially, this project was for the installation of 13 emergency and standby power system generators with SCADA connections. What SCADA connections essentially do is provide some intelligent points for each one of these equipments for remote monitoring. And we also installed 7 underground station connection points. So this allows for roll-up generators. So if we did have any kind of emergencies at the underground stations, we could roll up a generator, plug in, and power up. So this was, again, to satisfy MARTA's current business strategy of improving service delivery, reliability, and enhancing safety and security. Just a few photographs of our installation process. On the right-hand side, you can actually see on the bottom left, this is one of the standby generators with its doors open. You can kind of see the insides. On the right-hand side, they were getting prepared for a pick of some of the equipment into the station, and you can see some other installation photos there on the top right-hand side or left-hand side. Board total authorization was $6,242,175. We had 13 change orders of $309,552. Quantity variance of $3,061.16. Total contract value came to $6,548,666.59, of which we withheld $5,000 for retainage. The percentage goal for DBE was 15%. We were just shy of that at 14%. There are no more anticipated pending charges or claims. This was, just to explain some of the change orders, we did have a lot of coordination we had to do with CSX, specifically at 5 Point Station, which also led to a little bit of a time duration. So that was the genesis for some of the change orders. So there were time extensions essentially. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. That's me. All right. Request for the board to approve the resolution authorizing the final acceptance for contract RFP P31223, standby power system, generator replacement. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can we please have a motion in a second? It has been moved and seconded. With that, any questions? If no questions, please vote. Resolution is approved. Thank you. All right, we're getting there.
Yep.
Agenda item number 7, I'll let you go ahead and give us the overview and read it off.
Sure, no problem. Resolution authorizing the award of a contract for architectural and engineering design services for Clayton County South Lake Bus Rapid Transit BRT alignment and airport connectivity AE 50433. So Clayton County South Lake BRT, some project details. The goal of this project is to have 50 to 65% dedicated bus lanes. We have shared lanes within this alignment to accommodate turning movements. We are going to be running parallel to the RT 196. It's a 14-mile corridor with approximately 20 stations. This is a BRT that's going to connect College Park and Airport stations, as well as the City of Riverdale, Southern Regional Medical Center, and South Lake Mall, which is going to be the terminus and the future home of a mobility center or a transit hub. A little bit of background on the timeline to reach this point. November 16th, we came before this committee to brief on a use of a qualification-based process for A&E Final Design Services. On May 7th, we advertised and requested bids or proposals. And on June the 20th, we received proposals from 5 firms, of which we had a source evaluation committee review those and shortlisted 2 firms. On September 10th, we conducted interviews with those 2 shortlisted firms, and then on November 13th, we entered into negotiations with one of those firms, and we concluded those negotiations on February 25th, 2025. So we selected CDM Smith to be the A&E for this effort. This was for $27,711,997.85. They committed to a DBE goal of 30%. They are supported by KCI, Thailand, Access Infrastructure, and 11 DBEs. So with that, we would request for the board to approve the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for A&E design services for Clayton County South Lake BRT, alignment and airport connectivity AE 50443 to CDM Smith Incorporated. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can we have a motion and a second, please? See, it has been moved and seconded. Any questions? First question, Mr. Durrett.
I see that from the time that we decided to negotiate with a vendor to coming to agreement was 3 months.
Yep.
Is that a reasonable period of time to be able to negotiate things, or was this project of such complexity that it really did require that much time? And the reason I'm asking this is I hear from a lot of people about why does it take so long, not just for MARTA to get stuff done, but any governmental entity, to be honest with you. So help me.
Concurrent with this effort, we do an audit of each one. It's a pricing audit for each one of our vendors. So we did have to finalize the audit prior to us being able to finalize our negotiation. So we were going concurrently. So there was a time lag there for the audit itself.
Thank you.
Can I add to that as well? So in this instance, the cost proposal did come in quite high. We met with the vendor at least 3 times in this.
Yeah.
So it is a back and forth negotiation where, we're pointing things out. We're making sure we have the scope of work aligned. And this is a large project, so it did take some time.
Mr. Pollan.
A couple of questions. Very complex project. What is the timeline on the schedule for completing the work, first of all?
For completing the design?
Yes.
Design right now, we are looking at December 2026.
And will this design take the documents and the information to 100%, or is it a...
Yes, it will.
Okay,
Yep.
so it'll take it all the way through.
Yep. We anticipate going to construction bid right afterwards.
And last of all, $27 million contract. What is the estimated longer-term construction value of this work?
So overall program values, our budget's $356 million for the overall program. So I'm not sure if we've carved out the construction value as of yet. I'm sure we have. It's just not in front of me. But overall budget for this program is $356 million.
But this contract is a lot more than just design. It's the planning, it's right away and all of that too, or not?
Correct. We have to do coordination with the FAA, FTA. We're going to be going on to the airport property. There's a lot of complexities here. We're almost treating it as two segments. So one segment's the alignment that's going to go into Clayton County, and then there's a second segment. We're treating it almost like a second segment that's going to be making the tie-in to the airport itself.
Is the construction oversight involved in this number?
Yes, DSDC is involved.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
the numbers, ratios kind of make sense. So.
Yep.
All right, Ms. Pollock.
Just curious which type of federal funds are involved.
So I know we've applied for CIG grants. I don't know of any others that we're currently pursuing. If
Yeah, so we're currently pursuing Transit Trust Fund dollars as well, particularly for the airport connection.
Thanks.
On the state. Yep.
Okay. Chair Hyde?
Yeah, so looking at this map, it swings, even though it goes all the way to College Park, it's going to swing in and stop at the airport, so you don't have to go up to College Park and get on the train to come back down in, and that's a little complicated part there to do
yes.
that. Okay.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
But that's the rationale behind it, is you want to time save and not have people have to ride to College Park and then
Go to
change
College
vehicles.
Park and then come back down, right? It would almost allow that entire corridor, and a lot of folks that work at the airport would be able to make that direct connect to the airport, and you would not have to go to the station and then come back down for one stop.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Mr. Durrett?
Yeah, I just, this is really exciting. I don't know where we were, Carrie, when the light bulb went off and we all got together and said, this is brilliant. The airport connection I'm referring to. So it's great to see us getting to this point.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? If not, please vote. All right, all in favor? The resolution passes. All right, and to our final moment today, agenda item 8. The floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you. So final presentation. It's a briefing for upcoming construction impacts and modified service plan for the Indian Creek double crossover replacement. So I'm going to kind of start by explaining what a double crossover is. Essentially, a double crossover is a type of railway turnout that allows trains to cross from one track to the other from either track and can traverse on either direction. Okay, so it's a series of switches, turnouts, and that's essentially what we're having to build here. The scope is for replacement for an aging double crossover between Kensington and Indian Creek Station. It's a number 10 double crossover. The scope was originally baked into the TR4 program, Track Renovation 4 program, which has been terminated. So we had to kind of pick this up and continue on, and we happen to have some work, station rehab work, that's taking place right now at Indian Creek Station. So we felt this was an optimal time for us to be able to get in there and take care of this. So along with the DXO replacement, we're also going to be upgrading signals and power systems. And all the scope of work is to preserve system reliability and maintain a state of good repair. We are anticipating notice to proceed April 21st, an 8-week duration of construction. This is going to be 2 10-hour shifts every day. We're getting commitments from all of our subs to do that. And then on June 15th, we are trying to basically bring this back online in time for the FIFA Club Cup soccer games that are going to be taking place here in Atlanta. So just a snapshot of what we have as far as DXOs. We have 16 total DXOs. You may remember a couple years back we came before the board to explain a couple areas that we had done some renovations as part of TR4. We had done a shutdown, complete shutdown at Northland DXO, Buckhead, and Canterbury. Now those required us to do full bus bridging, and it was a pretty complex effort, especially when we were on Buckhead and Northland. They were months to set up and go forward with, and a lot of outreach. What we decided to do on this was we were able to test this out when we went to airport. We're able to do this work with a single track. And by single tracking, you can keep your stations open. And that's what we decided to go with in this particular case. We went back and took a look at a couple different options. We landed on this one. So what is the modified service plan that's required? Construction activities will require single tracking into and out of Indian Creek Station. Modified service plan avoids a full shutdown of Indian Creek Station, and previous replacements have required full shutdowns, as I just mentioned. I'm going to try to walk through this just for our listeners and make sure everybody understands what we're trying to do, because I want to make sure I don't make any missteps here. Modified schedule will affect the blue line in the following manner. Between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m., one train will traverse from H.E. Holmes to Avondale with a 10-minute headway. A second train will run from H.E. Holmes to Indian Creek every 20 minutes. So you're going to have these trains alternate. If you can see on this, the map we have, we're going to have basically on the blue line one train that's going to go from H.E. Holmes to Avondale, drop off everything and just go back and forth. And every other train is going to go from H.E. Holmes all the way to Indian Creek. So if you're at Kensington or Indian Creek Station, you are now going to experience a 20-minute headway just at those two stations. Everywhere else, you're going to have service of 10-minute headways. Okay? That is on the weekdays. On the weekends, we are going to have a 16-minute headway for the weekends between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. And then from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., we're going to maintain the 20-minute headways as we normally do. And it's the same situation. You're going to have one train going between H.E. Holmes and Avondale, second one between H.E. Holmes and Indian Creek. Okay? We are going to be basically we're going to have a communications campaign, and the strategy is essentially to go between our platform, operator announcements, social media. We're going to do itsmarta.com coverage. We're going to go to all of our applications, signage, stakeholder emails. We have a strategy in place to go ahead and roll this out. So we're going to do that prior to the April 21st start date. You can see an example of this on the right-hand side. Yes, sir.
On the weekends, we run straight through, so there's no alternating train.
There's no alternating train. That's changed. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go all the way through on the weekends. Okay. So forget about what I said about the every other train. This is why I go off script. That's not a good thing. So, okay. On the weekends, 20-minute headways back and forth all the way to Indian Creek. But the point of the matter is that we are keeping the stations open. We are going to have this communication blast out there, and more importantly, well, not more importantly, but importantly, we're going to be taking care of this critical infrastructure with the new vendor, and we're essentially looking forward to taking care of this critical work. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Pollock? Oh, yeah, Ms. Pollock, go ahead.
Sorry. I just want to say I really appreciate y'all thinking through a way to keep the station open and not bus bridging. I know that is a lot of work, and it's really important to our customers, so I appreciate all the thought that went into that. I had two quick questions. One is just sort of, can you explain the rationale for the turnaround at Avondale rather than Kensington?
It's the location of the crossover itself.
I figured.
Yeah.
But I want to check. Okay. And then just wanted to make sure it'll come through on the GTFS feed, so we'll make sure to have, you'll be able to tell if you look up your train on Google or on the MARTA app.
Yes, I believe so. We'll communicate that to our communications team, but I'm sure that that's part of the protocol.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Pollen?
You mentioned new vendor, and I recall the prior work, the crossover work.
Yeah.
This is a new vendor, prime contractor, right?
Okay, so
or a subcontractor.
It's Stacy Whitbeck that's going to be doing the work. They are a sub to Carol Daniel Moody, who's the CMAR contractor over at Indian Creek Station. Stacy Whitbeck is world renowned. They're a good vendor, and they actually are. We are doing a lot of pre-construction work right now with their team, and they've been basically hitting every milestone. So we're fully confident they're going to be able to do this work, and they have done this work all over the country. So they're actually the ones that have built the rail for the Stadler system on their site. So we're very aware of their work.
No, that's fine. The reason I
Okay.
asked the question, I remember the prior
Yeah.
contractor and subcontractor, there were
Yep.
some performance issues there, scheduling issues, so none of that group is taking this project forward, right?
No, not in this case. This is, we're looking at production values, and they're working with us on constructability review right now. So,
Question answered.
yeah, thank you.
Mr. Frierson.
Thank you. This is great to see this happening in this space. Indian Creek being at the end of the transit line going east, and it's so exciting to see what's happening in this space. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at new tracks. We got new trains coming into this space, and a new station. I hope there's plans for new landscape improvement in this whole. And because that's very important, because as you stand on the platform and look across this area, it looks just like this picture looks right now in this photo.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping that there's plans for that. Is that the case?
So concurrent with this work, we are looking at any kind of canopy cutback that we may need to do, as well as we're looking at other options on what else can we piggyback on this effort. I know that we're going to be doing some artwork and mosaics in the station.
Sure.
So, we are definitely optimizing whatever work we can do while we have this opportunity.
Okay. Because behind this canopy, you see also there's a lot of dead trees. There's a lot of things that's happening in that space. And like I say, when you get off the train, with everything being new, I think we need to make sure we address the landscaping piece all the way to the end as far as it can be seen. And if we're going to do that, we want to do it in a planned way that it just looks so attractive. Because we got a new TOD development that's going to be coming on the ground in Indian Creek, right?
Yep.
And
Yes,
so
we
we're
do,
excited
sir.
about that. All right.
Yep.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. If no more questions, any other matters to bring before the committee? If not, this committee meeting will be adjourned. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
March 27th, 2025 Operations and Safety Committee meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of our minutes from February 27th, 2025. If I can get a motion in a second. It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote. The minutes are adopted. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of indefinite quantity construction contract services, RFP P50683. And we'll turn it over to Mr. Sean Thomas.
Good morning, Chairman Worthy, Vice Chair Scott, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. McKinney, and Operations and Safety Committee members. My name is Sean Thomas. I'm the Director of Facilities. And today I'll be talking to you about the next two agenda items. But as a precursor, I'd like to give some context about the program and how these two dependent agreements are necessary for our continuation. These agenda items seek authorization for two separate solicitations in support of the continuation of this program as the current agreements approach expiration in early 2026. With this in mind, I first would like to bring your attention to agenda item number 2, which is a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of indefinite quantity construction contract services, RFP 50683. And because of the association between the agreements, I will also discuss agenda item number 3, which is a resolution authorizing the solicitation of RFP 50684 for construction management of the indefinite quantity construction services contract. Next slide. This contract will support 3 of the authority's strategic initiatives. First, improving the customer experience, promoting MARTA's image and brand, and as well as efficient capital program delivery. And the key topics that I'll discuss with you today, I provide an overview of the program itself, the association between those dependent agreements. I'll give some program highlights to include the current progression of the progression of the current contract, as well as some accomplishments to be followed by the solicitation request. Next slide. So what is the IQCC? It's the indefinite quantity construction contract has allowed the Office of Facilities to execute small to medium priority projects as an option for repair, alteration, modernization, rehabilitation, or to complete minor construction or space planning tasks. And some of the key details of the program, it follows indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity procurement process. It has a pre-price task catalog with a competitively bid adjustment factor. And it's also allowed us to streamline some tasks by utilizing a single procurement for several individual tasks. Provides for some additional transparency, auditability, reduces a backlog of smaller refurbishment contracts, and again, it has allowed us to streamline the process to replace operation critical equipment. So the dependent agreements, the first RFP 50683, now this is for the IQCC contractors, and these are the firms that actually execute the work orders or task orders. They coordinate with the necessary subcontractors, and this is where the DBE participation becomes involved in the program under that specific agreement. The next agreement is 50684, and this is for the construction management portion of the program. They provide an owner's representative, provides the work order software, the construction specifications, the pre-priced task catalog, as well as an analysis of the means and methods which are used to execute the work. Next slide. So right here, this snapshot shows the expenditures associated with these two agreements that are currently in place. And you'll notice the difference between the dates of NTP, but in actuality, we couldn't really execute any work without both agreements being active. And in addition to that, the award for P40987, which is at the top, for the construction management portion, it represents a 10.95%, which is basically a management fee for the total award of the second agreement, which is P40916. And P40916, as I mentioned earlier, is the agreement that actually allows for execution of the work associated with the program. As noted here, the original DBE goal was 25% for that agreement. It was awarded to 6 firms. Of those 6 firms, 2 of those firms were actual DBE firms, and one of them was a joint venture with a DBE. So that allowed for pretty good success as far as DBE participation. And to the right, it actually shows the distribution of work among those 6 vendors over that 4-year period that this program has been in place. Next slide. So for some additional context, I'd like to provide an overview of some of the 73 different types of work orders that we did during the first 4 years of the program. And the intent here is to demonstrate the type of small to medium-sized tasks which were completed using this streamlined process. The first of which you may recognize as our beloved boardroom. So you can see some of the before images to the right, I'm sorry, to the far left, and to the bottom center right there, the after. This was actually one of the first task orders that we did under this agreement back in 2021. To the right, there's some before and after images of the restrooms here in this facility, which were also some additional task orders we did. Next slide. These images show the HE Homes tail track, and this is right beneath our aerial structure just west of the HE Homes station. And this shows some of the cleanup to address road debris from city storm drains that collected in the culvert beneath our aerial structure. And of course, it created all types of concerns with erosion and drainage, among several other issues there. And this specific task order allowed us to mitigate some legal concerns that actually arose as part of some of the neighboring properties there. Next slide. These images show the progression from the before conditions on the left to the actual demolition in the center to the after on the far right, where we installed a new bus lift over at the Hamilton bus facility. Next slide. And lastly, these images show one of the most anticipated task orders, which was completed. And this was one of our efforts to expand the smart restroom beyond the first 2 locations. And this is actually at the East Point station. And you can see some of the before images to the left, and some advertising of, if you will, that we did on the center during construction, and the after images to the far right. And in addition to these examples, we replaced skylights at Midtown Station, installed new HVAC systems in several train control rooms, as well as some minor concrete and asphalt repairs in various locations throughout the system. Next slide. So in summary, in our efforts to continue with delivering work through this program, I respectfully request authorization to solicit for proposals for RFP 50693 for indefinite quantity construction contract services, and RFP 50684 for the solicitation of construction management for the indefinite quantity construction contract services. I appreciate your time and consideration. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to you, Chairman Worthy.
Let's, since these are related, I know these are related, but we have to take them separately. So I entertain a motion in a second for 50684, or sorry, 50683. It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion?
I hit the wrong button. You can move me to.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, I mean, this is probably an oversimplification, but this is basically our handyman, right?
More or less, yep.
Okay.
Allows us to move expeditiously as issues arise. So.
Okay, so no questions from the board on 50683. Please vote. That resolution has passed. And now we will call for a vote on 50684, or a motion in a second for 50684. It has been moved and seconded. Oh, Mr. Pine.
A quick question for the group for a handyman contract. It was very well worded, but how is the pricing? That's a great way to get these smaller projects done, but how is the pricing established, monitored, evaluated, and controlled for these smaller contracts?
Great question, sir. So it's a couple of different layers to it. Initially, the first one is there's a pre-priced task catalog, which is part of that construction management portion.
So there are unit prices established?
Yes, sir.
Okay, answer the question.
No, seeing no other questions, please vote. And the resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the solicitation of proposals for the procurement of CDL and ELDT training services, RFP 50682, Sherby Philpott. Good morning, Ms. Philpott.
Good morning, Chairman Worthy, Vice Chair Scott, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. McKinney, and members of the Operations and Safety Committee. My name is Sherby Philpott, and I'm the Senior Manager of Technical Training. May I direct your attention to agenda item number 4. Today, I am requesting committee approval of resolution authorizing solicitation of contracted commercial driver's license and entry-level driving training services, RFP P50682. MARTA has historically partnered with Georgia Piedmont Technical College to provide commercial driver's license training, testing, and certification. Recent advancements in private sector CDL training presents an opportunity to enhance this program. Although the current contract remains in place until May 2026, we seek to leverage emerging technology to develop a more immersive and efficient training experience, strengthen talent acquisition pipelines for workforce applicants, and to streamline the curriculum to reduce the training time. These enhancements will improve program effectiveness while maintaining high training standards. Turning to the business case, MARTA currently does not have the capability to provide GDOT certified commercial driver's license training and examination under the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulations. A certified CDL is required to operate any vehicle of 10,001 pounds or more, to include our buses in revenue service. As part of license certification, a CDL holder must pass a DOT physical and are limited to the amount of daily driving hours as part of the FMCSA regulations. The contractor's objectives are straightforward. The first is to provide trainees with the knowledge and skills needed to obtain a commercial driver's license, specifically a Class B with passenger endorsement. The second objective is to ensure compliance with Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration regulations, as discussed in the previous slide. The third is to equip trainees with both practical and theoretical knowledge necessary to operate a transit bus safely while delivering excellent customer service and effectively managing routes. Finally, and most importantly, the goal is to prepare trainees for the safe and efficient operation of MARTA's buses in various urban and suburban environments. I would like to take a moment to highlight where these contracted services fit into MARTA's bus operating training timeline. Typically, the first 2 weeks of a candidate's coursework are dedicated to studying for the commercial driver's license permit and learning how to conduct a pre-trip inspection on a bus. Following this, the candidates will spend approximately 3 weeks at the contractor's facility, where they will train on the CDL skills course, complete their entry-level driving training as mandated by the FTA, and operate a MARTA bus on a skills course, performing various maneuvers, attend classroom lectures, and taking evaluations. Once the candidates successfully pass the CDL portion, they return to MARTA for 5 additional weeks of training. During this period, they receive instruction on de-escalation tactics, customer service and sensitivity training, and general rules of the road. A significant portion of these final 5 weeks is spent behind the wheel, where trainees will work with line instructors or regular instructors to gain hands-on experience. They practice navigating MARTA buses through busy streets and designated routes in the Atlanta metro area, allowing the candidates to become familiar with the various routes we service. It's not just MARTA's bus operators who require a commercial driver's license. Several other business units also depend on CDL certification to perform their work. As shown here, CDL requirements span multiple departments, including the track department, facility maintenance office, bus maintenance team, light rail operations, and more. Each of these business units relies on the contracted CDL and ELDT program to obtain the necessary certifications for their roles. In closing, I am respectfully requesting committee approval of a resolution authorizing the solicitation of RFP P50682 CDL and ELDT training services. Turning the matter back over to you, Chairman Worthy.
Thank you, Ms. Philpott. The resolution has been moved and seconded. Ms. Hardage?
Okay, so we currently have a contract with Piedmont College, I think, or Piedmont Technical School.
That is correct.
And that's through 2026.
That is correct.
So we're trying to do this in lieu of that or in addition to that?
In lieu of. We're
In
trying
lieu
to get
of.
a head start, yes.
Okay, so this will not take effect till 2026 when the other contract is up?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Chair Ide.
Yeah, I just have a basic question. I didn't really realize we hired people to be operators. So we will provide all of that training to somebody who maybe doesn't have an active commercial driver's license, but they meet the other requirements of being a bus operator, and we give them 10 weeks of training to learn how to be a bus operator?
That is correct, yes.
Oh, okay.
With the CDL training, yes. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. Thanks.
Ms. Williamson.
All right, so I'm just going to expand on what Ms. Hardage was just asking. So if this is in lieu of the current contract, and which ends in 26, are we saying that we are going to go out with the RFP for other technical colleges to have an opportunity? Because, again, Atlanta Technical College also offers CDL training. So just curious to know, are we planning to stick with the current provider, or is this an RFP to go after other?
To go after others.
College, yeah.
Yes, to go after others. That's what we're trying to do, yes.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Dr. Bolton Harris? No. All right. With no other discussion, please vote. The resolution passes. Thank you, Ms. Philpott.
Thank you.
We'll move on to agenda item 5, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for transit scheduling support, LOA L50564. Ms. Sexton, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman Worthy, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. McKinney, and members of the Operations and Safety Committee. My name is Wendy Sexton. I'm the Senior Manager of Track Allocation and Operations Scheduling. May I direct your attention to agenda item number 5. This is a resolution to award a contract for transit scheduling support services under LOA L50564. Today I'll outline why we're recommending Nelson Nygaard for this critical 5-year contract. Transit scheduling support service is vital for keeping MARTA's operations running smoothly, ensuring rail, bus, and streetcars meet the needs of our riders. LOA L50564 is a 5-year contract dedicated to support both daily operations and major projects. 2 firms competed Nelson Nygaard and Intellectual Concepts. I'll explain why Nelson Nygaard is our pick. But before we dive into the new LOA, let's look at the current one. Since September 2023, we've partnered with Nelson Nygaard under LOA for $357,216.70. This current LOA has kept our operations humming, and the new LOA picks up right where it leaves off, ensuring no gaps. Their long partnership isn't a rut, but a foundation of success, as we'll see later. Now on to LOA L50564. It'll start May of this year and run through FY30. It aligns daily service with capital projects, keeping our trains on time during single tracking, and secures MARTA's reliability for years to come. The scope covers three main areas. First, operations planning and controls by creating schedules for bus, rail, and streetcars to keep daily service on track. Second, rail service support by delivering special schedules for our capital improvement program, like track upgrade projects and our station rehabilitation program. Third, for maintenance of way by providing special schedules for track repairs and infrastructure replacements. Finding time for track maintenance is a challenge. We have limited windows to work with. Our trains run over 20 hours a day, so scheduling single tracking after 9 p.m. and most weekends when service demands are lower. This approach isn't unique. MARTA aligns with industry standards, as most transit agencies use single tracking to handle maintenance and upgrades safely. Our plan tackles these challenges head-on with tailored schedules while ensuring trains stay on time, keeping service reliable for our riders. We evaluated Nelson Nygaard and Intellectual Concepts on three key criteria: expertise in transit scheduling, proven success with similar projects, and the strength of their assigned team. Nelson Nygaard is a national leader in transit scheduling with a strong Atlanta presence. Since 2015, they've been a trusted partner with MARTA, not just maintaining the status quo, but delivering measurable results. They've mastered the intricacies of our rail system, navigating single tracking challenges, ensuring safe and reliable service, prioritizing excellent customer experience, and driving our capital program with speed and efficiency. Their success with MARTA is undeniable. They've nailed complex projects like 3 separate DXO shutdowns, the airport station shutdown, and preparing for our CQ400 nightly rail car testing that should start soon. They've managed extended single tracking schedules like Indian Creek, and they review our rail schedules weekly. Plus, they've tackled supporting our bus network redesign and special events like Dragon Con. Looking ahead, Nelson Nygaard is ready for MARTA's future. They'll support projects like the Indian Creek DXO replacement, the airport canopy construction, the Bankhead's platform expansion, and CBTC, just to name a few. The contract totals $1,495,160 over 4 years through FY 25 through 30. It's capped at $300,000 per year. The funding comes from capital project number 32317, which is dedicated to bus and rail scheduling support services, so we are fully aligned financially. In conclusion, I recommend approving this resolution to award LOA L50564 to Nelson Nygaard. Their expertise, 10-year partnership, and proven success with single tracking and major projects make them the right choice for this 5-year commitment. Thank you for your time and attention, Chairman Worthy. I turn the matter back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Sexton. The resolution has been moved and seconded. I see some questions. Ms. Jones.
Thank you for the presentation. The previous term was 1.5 years, about almost 2 years, and this one is 5 years. What is the reason for a longer term? Was that previous term an extension, or was that the original term of service?
Well, the original LOA was for a smaller period of time, and because we were looking to get a 5-year contract, and it just took us a little while to get this 5-year contract on the streets and bid. Prior to that, it was funded under an existing contract under the planning department. So the 5-year term just allows some consistency and no gaps. And the capital program, we actually have a 10-year program budget for the services.
Any other questions, comments? Please vote. The resolution passes. Thank you, Ms. Sexton.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 6 is a resolution authorizing the award of contract for professional services for MARTA Police Psychological Pre-Employment Assessments, Letter of Agreement, LOA L50636. Major Carrier, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman Worthy, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. McKinney, and members of the Operations and Safety Committee. My name is Major Matthew Carrier, and I am the Commander of our Police Administration. May I direct your attention to agenda item number 6. This is a request for a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for professional services from MARTA Police Psychological Pre-Employment Assessments, Letter of Agreement L50636. So a little bit of history. MPD has utilized the psychological services of Stone McElroy and Associates for well over a decade. The governing body for police officers, POST, Georgia Peace Officer Standards and Training Council, beginning in January of 2021, requires each peace officer candidate in Georgia to submit to a psychological evaluation. Just by way of context, we have been doing this well before this, and we have been in compliance with this. The current LOA began in April of 2020 as a 3-year contract at $179,550. It was modified in August of 22 to add in $20,000. That was because we ran out of our, we're such on a hiring push that we ran out of our psychological evaluations and had to add some more. The board then approved a 2-year modification extension in 2023 for a total of $146,000. So the total 5-year contract value was $345,960. So what are the benefits for Stone McElroy and Associates? They offer proctored virtual testing. All their testing is done via virtual means through their HIPAA compliant software. They offer individual assessments, and they have secure access to view the reports in an online portal. Our background investigators can go in, access the background, the psychological evaluations without having to interact with Stone and Associates. Makes it a lot more efficient. The applicant has the ability to schedule their own testing and reschedule as necessary. And one thing that they do that we like is they do quality control by having a second psychiatrist validate the findings. So that was our pre-employment. That's before we get hired. Some of the additional services that they do provide are critical incident debriefing. So if we were to have a critical incident in the field, an officer-involved shooting, a suicide of serious nature, something that affects the psychology of our officers, we can refer them for a critical incident debriefing with Stone McElroy and Associates. They offer fitness for duty evaluations. So if our supervisors in the field were to observe some concerning behavior with the employee, we can refer them for a fitness for duty evaluation. If they were to self-report something concerning, we can refer them as well. If MARTA were to be sued as part of one of the decisions that Stone McElroy and Associates made regarding a psychological finding or evaluation, they would come to court and represent MARTA on behalf of their findings. And additionally, they offer unlimited MARTA training to our staff, to our background investigators, on how to use their software to access the psychological evaluations, but also, just as important, they show them what to look for, any signs or anything that's concerning. So the proposed contract highlights is a 3-year contract for a total contract amount of $262,650. Internal audit did review this and found it to be fair and reasonable. And the Office of Diversity and Inclusion did not sign a DBE goal, as this is a professional services agreement. So I'm respectfully requesting authorization for resolution authorizing the award of a contract for professional services from MARTA Police Psychological Pre-Employment Assessments, Letter of Agreement L50636 with Stone McElroy and Associates, in amount of $262,650 for a 3-year contract. Thank you, Chairman Worthy. I respectfully turn this back over to you.
Thank you, Major. Is there a motion and a second? It has been moved and seconded. Any questions? Dr. Bolton Harris.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for your presentation. Just out of curiosity, I know there's a long-standing history with the organization. Obviously, it's a favorable one, but was there any other organizations that you all investigated?
We did reach out to a few additional organizations. They did submit some proposals, but we found this one to be in line with what we would like.
Out of curiosity, Major, how much is it per test?
So I'm glad you asked that. I have it right here. So it goes up every year. The first year of the contract is $400 for the pre-employment psychological evaluation. That includes the written test that they do and then the interviews that they do. And the following year it goes to $425, and then after that it's $450.
See if they'll give Chief Crayer an additional one for free.
I'm not biting on that one.
Any other questions? All right, please vote. The resolution passes. Thank you, Major.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7 is a resolution authorizing the award of contract for maintenance of way and operations support services, RFP P50405. Mr. Matthew, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Worthy, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. McKinney, and members of the Operations and Safety Committee. My name is Adi Matthew, Director of Maintenance of Way, and I'd like to direct your attention to agenda item number 7, RFP P50405. This is a resolution authorizing an award of a contract for maintenance of way and operation support services. I'll start this presentation with a brief overview of the Office of Maintenance of Way, or MOW, and our responsibilities, before explaining the need for support services. MOW is a fundamental part of the passenger and rail station experience. The department focuses on providing safe and reliable operating systems throughout the authority. MOW is comprised of the following 3 branches. Electrical Power and Equipment, or EP&E, is the branch responsible for traction, power, and auxiliary power. Lighting Systems, ATC, or Automatic Train Control, is responsible for the maintenance and repairs of MARTA's train control system, which regulates the movement of the rail cars for the purposes of safety and efficiency. The branch of Track and Structures provides track inspection services, performs scheduled maintenance on ballasted track, direct fixation, as well as contact and running rails. The Structural Group provides structural inspections of aerial structures, tunnels, and passenger station structures, to name a few. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. All right, this contract seeks to provide support services for maintenance of way, infrastructure, facilities, and other MARTA assets for the Division of Operations and the Department of Mechanical Operations. This contract will provide mechanical operations with the services needed to integrate existing systems and new programs into our current system infrastructure. This work will primarily support mechanical operations in continued, reliable, safe, and efficient operation of MARTA's heavy rail and streetcar networks, along with associated infrastructure such as stations, aerial guideways, control centers, support centers, and other operation departments, including bus operations, other groups as they interact with rail operations and MOW. The support services in this contract will allow for system-wide initiatives to maintain a state of good repair across our aging infrastructure, as well as aid in project delivery such as track renovation, communications-based train control, ensuring all necessary equipment and operational elements are procured, installed, tested, and ready before the project is completed. Program management for MOW initiatives that coordinate the management of multiple related projects, such as the Electrical Power and Equipment Enhancement Program, emergency generators, solar canopies, and other redundant power options for MARTA facilities and infrastructure. Other related projects include wayside vegetation, track fasteners, and the track and structures improvement programs. Project management to include the planning, execution, and overseeing of projects such as tunnel ventilation, traction power, and corrosion control, among others. Provide subject matter experts for intricate systems such as communications-based train control, supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA systems, and electric bus charging, to name a few. All work required of the contractor will be work order based. The intent of this contract is to allow the scalable and flexible award of work orders for certain and specific items to support MARTA's rail operations and maintenance of way activities. Certain work orders already identified as an immediate need with future work orders to be developed, implemented, and modified on an as-needed basis. Work orders shall be negotiated between MARTA and the contractor prior to work orders being assigned with specific goals and objectives. Notice for request of proposal was advertised on August 7th, 2024. On the proposal deadline date of October 4th, 2024, 3 proposals were received from the following firms. Intour, who has an extensive work history on program management and project controls with MARTA, on ATC projects, new car procurement, signaling upgrades, obsolescence, and IT programs for train control security. HNTB, with extensive work history in design and engineering services for infrastructure, track, and train control. HNTB has a strong staff of qualified technical experts. WSP, who also has an extensive experience with program management, procedure and policy development, maintenance strategy, and scope of work development. All 3 firms were responsive. In composing this scope, we jointly worked across MARTA to include mechanical operations, infrastructure, and systems engineering. This group formed the Source Evaluation Committee, or SEC, that reviewed and scored each proposal. The SEC also requested presentations by each firm as part of the selection process. Proposals were evaluated and selected based on the evaluation criteria, and the recommendation for award of a contract was made in accordance with the criteria and procedures in the evaluation plan. All 3 firms scored exceptionally well, with the score being comparatively close. All right, consistent with the MARTA Act, it is in the best interest of the authority to enter into a contract with all 3 firms, WSP, Intour, and HNTB, in a work order-based contract for a total not to exceed the amount of $28 million. This will allow us options to leverage each firm's strength and experience in specific areas of need. This procurement is being funded with 75% capital and 25% local operating funds from the approved fiscal year budget. Funds for subsequent years will be included in each year's budget. The price is determined to be fair and reasonable based on the independent cost estimate and price competition. Each of the firms met the 26% DBE goal. At this time, I respectfully request the Operations and Safety Committee's approval of a resolution authorizing the General Manager or his delegate to enter into a contract for the procurement of maintenance of way and operations support services, RFP P50405, with WSP, Intour, and HNTB Corporation, not to exceed $28 million. Thank you for your time and attention. I'll turn it back over to you, Chairman, for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Can I get a motion and a second? It has been moved and seconded. Any questions? Mr. Pond.
This contract supplements MARTA staff, particularly in very specialized areas. My question is, will we use this contract to embed some of these people full-time inside with the MARTA staff?
I can't hear. Can you repeat? Can't hear you.
Will you use this contract to embed full-time people inside the MARTA building to support the contract?
So it depends on the contract, and the work order, I should say. Depending on how intricate it is or how simple it is. We have stuff like SOPs. We won't need to house people permanently on property for something like that.
We're not embedding people full-time on property is my question.
Full-time on the property? No.
Okay. Where are we, and maybe this is a question for others, but we've had the GC contract in the past, and MARTA's tried to get away from having a large number of full-time contractors on site supporting the program, tried to focus on specific contractors on different contracts. So where are we with the original GC contract from years ago? we,
Addie, do you have the detail in front of you? I know that you're right, Al. There's been a move to increase FTE and reduce the number of contractors resident in the space, but I really don't know if we've made progress on that of late.
Yeah, I don't have a
Do you have that, Carrie?
response for that.
Yeah, so at one point in time, I believe we had the MATC program,
Right,
which
that's
was
right.
doing all of our,
Yeah.
Correct.
supplementary design work. And we've moved to a model where we're using consulting firms more for different specialties. So program management, for example, we have the JRMT contract. We have in each of these individual contracts that we're putting out for design in particular, we're really trying to chase consultants that have the specialty areas for each of the individual designs. So we've kind of gone from like a global firm to more specific for each of the assignments.
that was my question, and I just wanted to confirm that. So.
Mr. Durrick?
Yeah, my question is related to that. Mr. Matthew, how do we make decisions? If we approve this, then you've got 3 firms that are in this $28 million stable, and then it's up to us to go to, the total population to say, this is what we're looking for. How do you decide who you're going to be working with for which specific tasks? Is the expertise among the firms that distinct that it's a pretty clear picture of what you need and from whom you need to get it?
Yes, so we do have experience working with a lot of the firms, but we will, of course, consult with our system engineering partners to determine which firm would best suit the specific work order that we need to take care of that, task.
Any other questions? Please vote. Mr. Matthew, those were some really cool pictures in there. I think my 5-year-old would like to come watch some maintenance away work.
They would surely enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
The resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
All right, thank you.
Agenda item number 8 is resolution authorizing the award of a contract for the supplemental professional services for bus operations, RFPP P50574. Mr. Wright.
All right, greetings, Chair Worthy, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. McKinney, and members of the Operations and Safety Committee. I'm George Wright, Chief Operating Officer. Please direct your attention to agenda item 8, a resolution authorizing the award of a contract for supplemental professional services for bus operations, RFPP P50574. I am here to seek this committee's approval in implementing a transformative and lasting change within bus operations. This transformative change will substantially improve organizational culture and performance in alignment with the authority's strategic priorities, while also supporting our aspirational ethos of safe, clean, and reliable. Now, for the purposes of this resolution, bus operations consist of the offices of bus transportation, the Office of Bus Maintenance, and the oversight team within the Office of Mobility. Now, as you can see from this slide, bus operations activities and scale constitute some of the largest scale of operational budget, spend, staff count, and ridership at MARTA. Now, here are some successes of note in bus operations. Now, fixed route bus has continued to realize year-over-year increases in ridership since the end of the pandemic, albeit much slower than we would prefer, while mobility ridership has nearly returned to pre-pandemic levels. Additionally, vacancy rates in bus operations have decreased, with fill rates nearly at the budgeted authorized levels. And finally, we are especially encouraged by the efforts of our workforce management superintendents. Their activities support both operational leadership and the constituent workforce as they work to improve staff availability. However, there's a need for urgent change in bus operations. Challenges to include unreliable staff availability and suboptimal performance in the Office of Bus Transportation and suboptimal fleet reliability in the Office of Bus Maintenance adversely impact the customer experience and require corrective actions that will improve outcomes quickly and deliver levels of predictability and reliability that riders can consistently rely on. A demonstrative sense of urgency is required to address these challenges. So the question is, where do we go from here? First, we need to do something different. To deliver on this transformation, we need more than the transactional corrective actions that are typically implemented to address shortfalls to key performance targets. Second, we need to be bold and deliberate. Akin to the decisions made in mid-2020 with the new rail car design, where we pivoted, engaged the public, and came up with the revolutionary CQ400 2.0 design. Now, many of us in this room experienced validation of that decision at the state of MARTA at the end of January. And finally, lasting, I'm speaking of a transformation that is sustainable while ensuring safe, clean, and reliable bus service. Now, to help us with this transformation, we're calling upon Argo FSO. Argo is a global management consulting firm, a leader in operations strategy and performance improvement, and we've been in discussions for some time with Argo about transforming MARTA's bus operations into a best-in-class transit solution. The proposed transformation plan is people-centric, with a focus on leadership and workforce training that establishes workplace culture where continuous improvement and operational excellence will become bus operations North Star. Now, Argo has extensive experience in the transportation industry, and if you kind of focus on the right side of the slide here within the red box there, you will see that there's extensive experience in the transportation area with specific transit sector experience working with several of our industry peers. And if you look even a little closer, you will see that we're also a past client. We have worked with Argo several times on some smaller projects. Most recently, they completed an assessment of the railcar inspection activities within the Office of Railcar Maintenance. That assessment will help us as we design the concept of maintenance operations for the new railcars. Now, this transformation will really navigate two main paths. The first path is the installation of a contract deputy chief of operations. This individual will report to the chief operating officer. The person in this role will run day-to-day bus operations and is expected to deliver elevated levels of performance in the areas of safety, customer experience, operations, and effective union relationships. Supporting this deputy will be 6 to 7 accomplished senior consultants that will embed in each of our operating divisions, along with off-prem resources that will support the 18-month engagement. The second path of this transformation is really around a series of best practices that will be implemented in bus operations that have been developed and refined over the years by Argo's transportation operational excellence methodology. Now, some of these best practices include increased rigor. And that's where we're talking about combining effective work designs and behaviors that will promote a collaborative engagement between leadership and the workforce. The other is a proven leadership training and on-the-job training regime with an emphasis on effective expectation setting, active supervision, along with feedback that is balanced between positive reinforcement and consequences. And I think this is kind of akin to, and what we're going to be offering, particularly our leadership group, is, really graduate level type of leadership development here. And finally, we're looking at process optimization and controls to improve outcomes and the predictability of service delivery. You know, this transformation is essentially a combination of training with improvement projects and immediate leadership directives. Some may be in the week of a one-week Kaizen project to capture some quick wins, while others might take a few weeks to get the improvements in place. Now, during the implementation, Argo commits that the results of the engagement will be successful, sustainable, measured with results reflected in our key performance indicators. And note, all performance files will be the property of MARTA at the end of the transformation engagement. Now, regarding deliverables, the ones that stand out to me are really the quick wins that will benefit our riders and workforce, will really build some momentum and steam behind our back. And the delivery of a operating playbook that we can reverse engineer for other transformations. Also, in addition to the benefits for our riders and workforce, there are cost improvements via reductions in waste and other efficiency gains that will serve the authority well. Moreover, this transformation will be lasting. It will be how we will conduct business going forward. As an aside, this transformation will assist MARTA in establishing an integrated family of services model that will leverage, improve fixed route solutions, and in this case, the bus mode, in support of demand response solutions, like our current paratransit mobility mode and our upcoming on-demand mode. And lastly, there will be bi-monthly briefings to this committee on the progress and results of this transformation. The timeline for this transformation really consists of a four-phased approach, starting with really a lot of preparation and level setting, then transitioning over to training, and then workforce and stakeholder engagement, and finally culminating with an operational excellence sustainability. This transformation will cost up to $3,505,760. Internal audit has reviewed and determined this price to be fair and reasonable. And for some additional context, this amount represents less than 1% of the Division of Operations FY25 budget. That said, this contract will be funded from local operating funds from the approved fiscal year 2025 budget. Funds for subsequent years will be included in subsequent annual budgets. Ultimately, ongoing improvements in performance and outcomes will deliver returns and create lasting value in the form of an improved customer experience and increased ridership that will exceed the cost of this investment. Again, we do expect some quick wins that will benefit our riders, workforce, and operations relatively early in the transformation engagement. It is for these reasons that the Division of Operations respectfully requests the Operations and Safety Committee recommend to the full board the resolution authorizing the award of a contract for supplemental professional services for bus operations, RFPP P50574, in the amount not to exceed $3,505,760. With that, Chairworthy, I return the matter back to you for consideration. Thank you.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Chair Ide.
Yeah, I don't know if this is possible, but I know that the last thing on your agenda is the key performance indicators. Can we pop the bus ones up there and look at those quick, and so you can just tell us where we are on this to sort of set the stage of why I totally think we need this, but it would be great to see, you know, where we've been over the last year or so, if that's possible to put them up there.
We can each do it. They're not in the deck, so if we both open them on our computer.
Okay. But if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Wright, just sort of telling us where we've been over the last year or so on these bus KPIs, and then I'm assuming that what we're looking for is to hit our goal that you all have set. But if you can just give a little more context to how we set the goal, where we've been historically, and how quickly you think we'll be able to get up to our goals, that would be great.
There's slides 5 and 6, I think is what you're wanting.
Okay. All right, so I would think the first one, the first one that is that I would look at is our on-time performance, right? That's what our riders, experience really in a visceral way, right?
So
the bus show up on time.
that's slide 6, right?
That would be what I'm looking at. That's number 4, bus on-time performance.
Okay, so it's slide 6 in our deck, and we're barely, or we're right there at our target, correct?
Yes.
Am I looking at the right thing?
Yes, so I think we're looking at January results. I think 78.93. Do you see that?
Yes.
That's what was attained in January. So, what we would expect from Argo is that we would improve upon that, okay? And look to see, and through these efforts that I've just conveyed to you, seek to see continuous improvement. Is there a ceiling that we would probably hit in this general area? It is. Don't know what that is yet, but I will tell you that if we were to consistently hit it in the 80 range,
yeah,
I would consider that to be successful.
And how, for I guess as far back as this graph goes, how do we set what our goal is? Is there an industry standard on that? Are we looking at MARTA historical? How did we come up with?
We look at it's MARTA historical. So these are really, I think, really specific to the market, to the agency. There's some agencies, there's some areas that don't hit the levels that we hit for whatever reason, and there's some agencies in some markets that they're able to exceed that.
Okay, but you think that we might be able to, with this, help and contract, meet our goal and then scoot the goal up?
Yes.
Okay.
Very confident in that.
Okay.
Let me add to that, George. Just in terms of, for context, it was about 5 years ago we were struggling to get to 78.5, and even as a board, there was some acknowledgement that 78.5 almost sounds like you're not really striving. You know what I mean? If your kid comes home with 78.5, you say, okay, it was good, but and then we tried a few acute measures. We did get into the 80s. We were very encouraged by that, and I hate to go back to COVID, but when service levels dropped, when attendance levels dropped, we've been struggling to get back. Now, I will say, to George's point, we are within 1% of the goal year to date. We exceeded on the month, and we're almost 2% better than we were last year. So those efforts are taking hold. 90%, just to set expectations, 90% is, I would never expect 90% of a fixed route system that doesn't have its own dedicated right-of-way. But 80 and better would make us happy, but more importantly, would make our customers happy.
Okay, that's great context.
Okay. The next key performance indicator are the bus mean distance between failures. So that's really how many miles we would travel before that bus experienced some type of failure, and this is an area that we've struggled in. Some of the contributors would include, one, we haven't bought any buses for the last 3 years. So, and we put a lot of miles on our buses, probably averaging around 60,000 a year. I will say that a decision made a number of years ago to go with a particular OEM manufacturer of a bus, in retrospect, probably wasn't the right one. So there's a sub-fleet that we're really struggling with right now. It's the fleet that the diesel fleet. What we're doing to rectify that. Looking forward to this board recommending to the full board that we do bring Argo on. They will those consultants that I told you about, when they embed in those divisions, they will help us improve upon our business practices, do simple things as simple as making sure that the shop floors are arranged, that we have supplies in the right place, that We're making sure that, you know, work isn't expanding the fill time, so that we're, you know, we're efficient in the shops and things like that, and that we have good quality controls in place. The next is I think another KPI that we really focus on are the bus collisions per 100,000 miles. And again, we're definitely in the area that indicates that it needs improvement. I will tell you that there are a couple of contributors there. One, we've had a lot of churn with our bus operator cohort. We have a lot, you know, if we were to look at where we sit right now with years of service now versus before the pandemic, you know, we have a much less experienced cohort and workforce right now within bus transportation. The other contributor would say is that we do have a very aggressive methodology. So, you know, when it comes to collisions, if we hit a tree limb, okay, or we clip a mirror, that is considered a collision. We count that. We count everything. So
and
any unintended contact between that bus and the environment, we count that as a collision.
Can you talk about side swipes?
Yeah, yes. Likewise, side swipes. We know that the lanes in the metropolitan area are, you know, somewhat challenging for the width of our buses, and they're oftentimes side swipes. And this doesn't indicate that we were at fault. You know, many times we are being hit by, you know, other traffic.
And then I think the last one on the bus is that there's not a chart, but there's not a graph, but it's in the chart is the customer complaints per 100,000 boardings.
Yes, and I think I indicated I would certainly challenge our friends from Argo to get those complaints to no more than 8 per 100,000 boardings. So this is the space we're going to live in to improve.
Yeah. Well, I have been looking at these metrics, and I'm so excited that there's a plan to improve them, because I do know there's some amount of time post-COVID of just sort of resetting of what's the new normal. But now that we are in the new normal, you know, how do we get to, you know, be a higher performing system? So I'm very excited about this. One last question on the on time. Does that take into account, or could we have another metric on whatever the canceled rides would be? Does it go into that metric, or would that be a separate?
Yeah, we measure that. So that
Okay.
is something I look at every day, are the number of missed trips
Yeah.
that we experience. And there are a number of different reasons. So sometimes there's not an operator available because of our attendance challenges. Sometimes it's a breakdown. So if I have a more reliable fleet, I'm going to have fewer breakdowns, and I'm going to miss fewer trips. But that is definitely something that I look at as something that we measure. We have dashboards that track and trend that.
Okay, that would be something I'd be interested in hearing periodically. Sure. And then I know that these metrics, you know, come to us and then they get put on the MARTA website. What do you think is a meaningful amount of time under this contract before we start to see the numbers move?
I believe that we could, Argo could come in, let's say they get to work sometime in May, sometime in June. We're going to look for some low-hanging fruit that we can get some quick wins on, okay? And they might be precursors or precedents to, you know, driving, you know, some of these key performance indicators up. So, I certainly before the end of the calendar year, I think we're going to have some momentum at our back.
Okay, and then the idea is we're going to do this with the bus system first, and then maybe we need consulting, maybe we learn how to do it ourselves with the rail system and the mobility and take those lessons learned forward?
Yeah, all those are on the table. Now, we're going to get an operating playbook.
Okay.
Right? So, you know, my friends from Argo might not want to hear this, but we might be able to, to some respect, be able to reverse engineer that playbook to some degree, and be self-reliant in that regard, or we get, we really, knock it out of the park. Yeah, we would want to move on to the next mode.
Yeah, okay. Well, I would love it. I mean, I'm fully supportive of this. It is a lot of money. I would love to, it certainly doesn't make sense to say, the very next month we expect to see the numbers change, but I would, whatever you think is an appropriate time to come and report back, I'd just love for us to all, be watching the numbers go up.
And if I brushed through it too quick, I apologize. We're going to come at minimum bi-monthly.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Going down the list, Mr. Durrett.
Two things. Number one, an idiom comes to mind: you can lead a horse to water. At what point, or is there a point where we're going to determine that as much expertise as we put into this and everything, we're not seeing the improvements that we're hoping for here? Will we be able to diagnose the cause of not being able to achieve the improvements that we're looking for?
Absolutely.
And secondly, good. And secondly, I noticed that we made a decision to ask Argo to give us a proposal to do these things, and we didn't go to the market, if you will. Why is that?
Well, as I mentioned before, this would, if we move forward with this will be, I think, our fourth engagement. They have demonstrated that they can deliver quality output to us that we can utilize to improve our operations. So I think I've been working with Argo now for maybe going into a fourth year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Pollock.
Thank you. I'm just curious how this sort of dovetails with the overall bus network redesign, sort of ensuring we put our best foot forward when we roll that out as well.
Oh, absolutely, it will dovetail with that. So again, we really, they're going to be very complementary of one another. So as we deploy this new redesign, we're going to want to really have at least some of these quick wins at our back. So yes, definitely related.
And from a timeline perspective, we would expect to see the bus network redesign launched before engagement is complete.
Well,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Sagabe.
Thank you very much. First off, let me say I'm very we've had some discussions calling around. Just, we've got to turn the operational corner and be an amazing operating entity. So very supportive of going in this direction. A couple questions. One, just what's the staffing model of the consulting firm? So I heard that they'll put a deputy in place, but is there a supporting team that's on the ground dedicated?
Yeah.
Like what's the core working team staffing model?
So we're looking at probably 6 to 7 senior consultants. Some of these individuals I know and I've worked with before in some of the previous, they will embed. Okay. So they're not in some cube somewhere else. They will be embedded in the divisions to helping us with this transformation. And then there's off-prem support that we will have too.
Perfect. All right. Just want to make sure there was bigger than a one-person team.
Okay.
Two, just from a solicitation standpoint, is it common that we have professional services contracts that are this large that are kind of a request rather than a solicitation?
I mean, maybe Jacqueline Holland might help us with that, with the scale of it. But I think, George, while she's making her way up, I will just say, in terms of the impact that this change is going to make, and you alluded it to it yourself. We wanted to go with an organization that we were sure of, and not just leave it to market forces, come in with the lowest bid, and ruffle feathers with no expectation of results. On this case, based on my knowledge of the industry, my peers in the industry, and the results they've seen with this organization, as well as this organization's performance here at MARTA. George didn't get into the details of the 9-box analysis and all those things. When I sat down and saw these guys go through what they've done, I just thought we would be delinquent if we didn't apply those forces to what George said is, our most important customer service aspect right now. But maybe Ms. Holland has a landscape answer in terms of how often we go this route.
So I don't have an answer as far as how often, but whenever we do go the route of a letter of agreement, because by the MARTA Act, it's not requiring us to compete any professional service. But when we do go that route, we make sure that internal audit is involved and they audit their rates to make sure they're fair and reasonable. And that happened in this case.
Perfect. Thank you. And then just the last question, and it goes back to the KPI chart, like the very last page in our KPI chart. And this is maybe in the vein of, I don't know if this should be a KPI, but it's employee lost time incident rate. And if I'm reading this correctly, it says that like the average employee misses 5 a week to a week and a half a year from accidents and injuries. And it's one of those that looks quite high. I don't know if I'm interpreting that correctly, like if that's a correct interpretation, seeing 7 per 100 employees, so 7 people out of 100 missing over 7 days a year from that. But that seems like something that encompasses, you know, a lot of these metrics and what we're seeing with our team.
I think that's a fair observation. So this is measured as the annualized number of accidents resulting in a lost time over 7 days per 100 employees. So you're looking at that, yes.
If I may, so what it's counting is it doesn't count unless an employee has been off more than 7 days.
Right.
Then it counts as an accident.
Yeah. So this metric would say that for every 100 employees, 7 times we have somebody who has an incident that has them out for 7 or more days.
Correct.
So that's like 7% of the team is out for 7 or more days from an accident.
Correct.
I mean, that's very substantial. That's that's over a week a year. So
I think one of the things George talked about earlier was Peter Bruno's work and the attendance management team, and they've actually been very successful in narrowing down the reasons for those absences. And sometimes it's you know, an injury, and sometimes it's administrative, and sometimes it's behavioral. And so we've got 3 different approaches for those reasons.
Mr. Frierson.
Yes, I know that these types of management observations, as you say, they'll be embedded in operation. It's going to require a cultural change in what we're doing, and it's going to open up some things and some spaces that I'm hoping that we'll be very frank and honest with the process of the employees participating in this. They have to be a part of this, right?
Absolutely,
Okay.
and that's a key part of the transformation, a key part of the engagement. So, you know, these individuals are just not going to show up one day and you know, start doing stuff. They're going to be numerous meetings, you know, a kickoff, a lot of training, a lot of, you know, just a lot of interaction, engagement before we, you know, really start turning screws and doing different things like that.
Okay, well, that's not, and I know that's critical because it requires a cultural change for us to be effective and for these deliverables to happen. And I've been through this process a couple of times, and I do understand the challenges it's faced, but it's great to see something like this happen. This really is transformative, okay? All right.
Something that George and I have talked about is the distinction between conduct and capability. When our service fails to meet the criteria, well, what was it, right? Sometimes it's just this nebulous fail. This is going to enable us to ensure that capability is high, and so what we're left with is conduct. And conduct is the deliberate, decision to not offer high service. When we can remove the capability side of it, because we've done this, then we'll know what we're dealing with.
Mr. Pond.
Great approach going forward. My only issue here or comment is that had this program is measured and monitored, we'll have a large degree about its opportunity for success. And when I look at these KPIs, and we've had the same KPIs for a number of years, you've got this red line drawn across, and I would suggest you go back and look at that and maybe establish where we are on an annual basis, because it's not a 1 or 2 month fix. So when I see these lines bounce up and down in 1 or 2 months, that's not a very meaningful result. I think you've got to look at longer term averages, 6 months to a year. But first of all, I'd like to see you draw a line where we are today. So in the last 2 years or 1 year, if our on-time performance is whatever it is, then that should be the starting point, and then you'll be able to see where you go from there.
Yes, sir.
Chair Ide.
Yeah, and I'll follow up on that. I'm sort of a tough mom. I'd like to see some more exceeds expectations than just meets expectations. But lastly, to follow up on Mr. Frierson, I mean, this does involve our labor force, both at the management level and at the rank and file. This is not intended to take anybody's job away, right? This is in addition to, we're not displacing anybody for this program.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And again, this is about providing our workforce with the tools to be more successful so they can master whatever craft they're in and be the best employee they can be.
And has some of our current management worked with this firm before, and have they worked well together?
Yes.
Okay. So you think labor and management are on board with this plan?
It's going to be important to Mr. Frierson's point that we start this off the right way with getting in front of the different constituencies and say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how it will benefit you.
All right, thank you so much. I know we've taken a lot of time on this item, but I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, we've talked this to death, and I think we're all excited about it. So let's call the question, and please vote. But I say that tongue in cheek, but I think I echo what everybody's saying of how important this is, and thank you for bringing this to the board, because I think, as you mentioned, we something's got to change. And the resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. And if y'all were, the only other thing is the KPIs that are in your package for FYI. I was appreciate us being able to talk through them a little bit as a committee. And given that nothing else is on the agenda, we will stand adjourned.
It's 12:01. We can call this External Relations Committee meeting to order. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the February 27th, 2025 External Relations Committee meeting. Moved by Ide. Second it. Any discussion on the motion? Please vote. Motion is passed. Thank you. First item on the agenda, we'll have a briefing regarding media impressions from November 2024 to February 2025 and the 2025 communications strategy.
Good afternoon, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Williamson, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Parker, and members of the External Relations Committee. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I'm the Senior Director of Communications, and it is my pleasure to present an overview of our media coverage from November 2024 to February 2025 and brief you on the department's 2025 communications strategy. In November, we sent 19 press releases that resulted in over 950 impressions. The big story of the month was our groundbreaking celebration for the Clayton County Operations and Multipurpose Facility. Almost all of the news coverage in November was positive or neutral in tone and had a $3 million advertising value equivalent, or AVE. Our social media engagement for the month was strong, with over 1,400,000 views, likes, and comments. We sent 20 press releases out in December, including one highlighting the installation of the pedestrian bridge at Indian Creek Station. The over 740 impressions in the month were all positive or neutral in tone and had an advertising equivalent of $2 million. It was another great month of social media engagement with close to 2 million impressions. And an article penned by Collie about the future of MARTA received many of the likes, comments, and shares. January was the busiest news month we've maybe seen ever, beginning with around-the-clock shuttle service for President Carter's viewing and concluding with the state of MARTA. We issued a record 48 press releases, 7 a week on average, and that's more than double the number of releases that we would send in a typical month. During the 2 winter weather events, multiple releases were sent daily to ensure that our customers knew of the service impacts. MARTA was mentioned over 2,000 times in news stories during the month, and that resulted in $16 million in advertising value. We experienced the most social media engagement in our history, over 4 million views, likes, comments, and clicks. The State of MARTA event on January 30th generated over half of that social media engagement. That's 2.5 million social media impressions in just one day. If we're lucky, we may see that many impressions in an entire month. The State of MARTA was a huge win, resulting in positive headlines that proclaimed the very thing we hope to communicate with Collie's State of MARTA address, that MARTA is forward-looking, that we're innovative, and we're ready for the future. The future of our bus system was the most covered news item in February. We sent out 14 press releases, many of them detailing the Next-Gen Bus Network public meetings and ways for people to provide their feedback on the draft network. MARTA received almost 800 impressions through traditional news media and over 1 million on social media, all of it registering as positive or neutral in tone. The unprecedented amount of news coverage and social media engagement in just the first 2 months of this year was due in part to the implementation of our 2025 communications strategy. This strategy has 3 primary goals: grow ridership, enhance MARTA's brand, and improve stakeholder perception. It targets 3 main audiences: customers and potential customers, the media, and key stakeholders. And it has 3 main messaging components: safe, clean, reliable, MARTA is a better alternative, and MARTA is future-focused. Here's a look at the tactics we've used to message to these target audiences and achieve our communications goals. We actually began implementing this strategy back in December with an article written by Colley placed in James Magazine. This column was aimed at key stakeholders, and it drilled down on our messaging, particularly how we are focused on the future, and that even if the reader doesn't ride transit, the metro region and therefore their life benefits greatly from its existence. We shared a link to this article with the entire media list, that's about 140 reporters and news outlets, and received additional news coverage from the piece. One of the primary tactics in our communication strategy is to tell more human interest stories. We released our first issue of Behind the Ride. This is a series highlighting employee-focused and customer-focused stories. We featured the customer experience team behind the new website, app, and real-time arrival information, and we put names and faces to these digital projects. And we showcased how MARTA Police helped a boy who'd missed his stop on the way home from school. His grateful mom emailed MARTA to thank officers and staff for their calm reassurance and assistance in getting her son home safely. Now, for now, these stories are going to live in the news and press section of our website, but when the new website is up and running, we will have a storytelling hub where we can prominently feature the people behind the ride. Another communications tactic we're focused on this year is more proactive media outreach, and we saw a great return on this last month. At the end of February, the president ordered federal workers back to the office 5 days a week, and we saw an opportunity to remind these employees, many of whom commuted on MARTA daily pre-COVID, to let MARTA drive. Emphasizing how easy, inexpensive, and stress-free it is to use transit, we spoke to many of the employees' main concerns about returning to the office and garnered positive headlines and great social media interaction. Growing our social media presence and engagement continues to be a big goal this year, specifically recruiting more validators and influencers to share our content and theirs. The success of this tactic was seen at the State of MARTA event, which, as you saw on that previous slide, generated 2.5 million impressions in one day. Much of that content was created by micro-influencers. Now, everybody expects you to share good news on your own social media pages, but building a network of validators who can post about events, projects, or initiatives, or just their daily ride on MARTA has greater reach, greater impact, and adds authenticity to the posts on our channel. I am thrilled with the results of our communication strategy so far this year, and I look forward to sharing more success stories with you in the coming months. Thank you for your time today, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Mr. Pond?
Quick question. 19 press releases, 955 impressions. Can you define an impression?
An impression would be anytime MARTA is mentioned. So anytime somebody's sort of interacting with a story about us, that would be considered an impression. Whenever MARTA is in a news item, a news article, mentioned in a TV broadcast.
Mr. Durrett?
I would encourage us when we're thinking about stakeholders, when I'm looking at that slide that's just about our 2025 strategy, goals, audiences, messaging, tactics, I would want us to really drill down on one particular stakeholder group that I think we're missing, and that is civic and business leadership. And I'd like us to think about what is the best way for us to get in front of leaders in the community so that we can make sure they've got the best perception of where we are going as an agency to improve the lives of everybody, including those that they touch in their leadership sphere. So this is just a little too general for me to feel really good about right now, and so I would like to understand that particular element because I think it's very important.
Yes, Director Durrett, our government affairs team and public engagement team actually partner with our communications team to send amplification emails and updates to our elected officials and community stakeholders as well. So that's not reflected in Ms. Fisher's presentation, but our government affairs and public engagement teams are also, as a part of their strategies, doing that.
Dr. Bolton Harris?
Has there been any utilization of social media influencers as far as like doing a day in a life of, you know, my life in the metro area where I get up in the morning, I go catch the train or do anything like that? Just looking at some of the things that occur on some of the social media platforms when people show these types of day in the life things to kind of, it creates a trend where people can post something about a vitamin supplement and all of a sudden you crash on a website because it's there. Have you all looked into doing any of that type of work?
Absolutely. Our social media team, we have good relationships with a lot of micro-influencers and influencers, and they will often share that with us, like, here's my commute, my daily ride on MARTA, and we will amplify that. But yes, we are talking with them about how we can create more content to the very thing you're speaking of. Here's my day starts on MARTA, here's what I do, and just, yeah, influencing, right? Using that as a platform to influence others to ride. Absolutely.
Thanks, Ms. Fisher. Just
Thank you.
one thing that I've noted or seen in this trend is that, you know, outside of some sort of natural disasters, accidents or whatnot, that the biggest things that people are paying attention to is the innovation, the future focused. So while people are actually interested in capital projects, they may not click on that as much. But if we talk about the innovation related to the capital projects, then I think you may get more people seeing where there's alignment between the construction that's happening and that future focus that we're trying to push forward.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a marketing and sales update and briefing from Jeanette Kanita.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Williamson, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Parker, and members of the External Affairs Committee. My name is Jeanette Kanita, and I'm the Senior Director of Marketing and Sales. Today, I'll be sharing an overview of our 2025 strategic marketing and sales priorities and provide a brief update on our progress since the start of the new year. So these priorities are focused on increasing ridership, enhancing customer engagement, strengthening our brand, and driving revenue growth. Our data-driven approach, partnerships, and targeted campaigns will help us really achieve these goals and position MARTA for success this year. To drive ridership, we are strengthening collaborations with major event organizers and cultural institutions, offering exclusive transit promotions for high-traffic events such as the FIFA Club World Cup, and we are also capturing new riders during peak seasons, such as holidays and summer events. We'll leverage ridership data to really create the best impact, which will allow us to create more targeted campaigns that effectively reach our key demographics and underserved areas. We'll continue to emphasize MARTA's cost savings compared to driving, along with its reliability and easy access to major destinations like the airport, to the stadiums, and downtown. By integrating digital, print, radio, social media, and influencer outreach, we'll ensure widespread awareness of service enhancements like the Next Gen Bus Network and our new fare payment system, Breeze 2026, both launching this year. Our key performance indicators include year-over-year growth, an increase in digital marketing engagement such as social media and email, and overall growth in campaign awareness. So last month, we launched year 2 of our Atlanta United partnership, strategically designed to increase ridership by targeting soccer fans with our Take MARTA message. As part of this activation, we promoted our pop-up shop to Breeze customers and social media followers, encouraging them to ride MARTA, to pick up exclusive MARTA merch before heading to the match. And additionally, we've been collaborating with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium fan experience team to really enhance our wayfinding signage around the stadium. And that's making it easier for attendees to navigate to and from the stadium using MARTA. And here's an example of a poster you may see on your next visit to the Benz. To enhance brand loyalty and reputation, first we're relaunching Ride with Respect to reinforce safety and civility across the system. This includes updated fare enforcement messaging and increased awareness around our code of conduct. And next, through recruitment marketing, we're positioning MARTA as an employer of choice, a key strategy in attracting and retaining top talent across departments. To engage our riders, we're introducing customer rewards that leverage incentives and gamification and promote early adoption of the upcoming Breeze 2026 fare system. And in parallel, our service transparency efforts focus on keeping customers really informed about service improvements, system enhancements, and how we're responding to community feedback. And we're also launching employee spotlights, and this is to really humanize MARTA by sharing stories from operators, mechanics, and MPD officers, which really helps to put faces to the services that we provide. We'll measure our impact by customer satisfaction and digital engagement growth, increased media coverage and positive community recognition, and higher employee retention and recruitment successes. Our new retail collection merges transit pride and sports culture, strengthening our community connection. So the recent pop-up shop at GWCC station made MARTA part of the game day experience, boosting brand visibility, expanding our audience, and reinforcing MARTA's role in Atlanta's cultural and transportation landscape. Also, we recently began the launch of a system-wide digital and static signage campaign addressing fare evasion to emphasize the importance of compliance in support of our frontline staff, which promotes respect for their critical role. So more activations and content, including videos with MPD, are under development to further our Ride with Respect message. We're building rider loyalty through community events and storytelling that help people really feel more connected to MARTA. We're also focused on families this year. This is the year of the youth. So we're developing campaigns and activations that encourage them to ride MARTA by really reinforcing that we're safe, that we're clean, and reliable. In the community, we're showing up at cultural, art, and music festivals, including the upcoming 404-day weekend events, and launching impactful bus wrap campaigns like last year's civil rights and pride campaigns. And importantly, we're listening. Rider surveys and social media feedback will guide us as we adapt and improve. And the results will be more repeat riders, stronger community response, and great event turnout, which will show that our efforts are resonating with our customers. So for example, on March 7th, MARTA partnered with Page Turner's Make Great Learners to celebrate Read Across Atlanta Day, reinforcing our commitment to community engagement. So since 2018, this partnership has recognized students for their reading achievements, and this year's Story Bus event took it a step further. Select events from Best Academy boarded a MARTA bus to HE Home Station, where they were surprised with a pop-up bookshop sponsored by Scholastic, allowing them to really build their own personal libraries. To encourage future transit use, each of those students received a reading and writing Breeze card for a free round trip on MARTA. So looking ahead, we plan to host more pop-up bookshops at MARTA stations, specifically designed to encourage families to ride MARTA more often and to really feel safe doing so. So these events, we think, create positive early experiences with public transit, helping to build a new generation of MARTA riders while reinforcing our role as a trusted community partner. And so more information to come on that. And our fourth priority is focused on driving revenue growth. MARTA continues to maximize its assets across stations, buses, shelters, rail, and the streetcar to really create new revenue opportunities. So by expanding advertiser partnerships, we are attracting local, regional, and national brands to invest in our high visibility spaces. So through premium ad opportunities such as station dominations, home of sponsorships, and vehicle wraps, we'll continue to really enhance the value of our advertising inventory. So beyond advertising, we are boosting merchandise sales through itsmartamerch.com and pop-up stores at high traffic stations, locations, and events, such as our upcoming event at 404 Day next week, which really helps us with strengthening brand loyalty and while driving additional revenue. So, as we are looking at growing our sales partnerships programs, which is led by LaQuanza Rao, we're really looking to boost our partnership programs by leveraging our various marketing channels through direct contact outreach, targeting direct partners, TMAs, UPass, K through 12 schools, and the visitor and convention sectors. Our key performance indicators include revenue growth, advertiser increase, and ad inventory occupancy rate reflect our commitment to really leveraging MARTA assets for sustainable financial success. So as an update, from July 2024 to February 25, our advertising revenue reached $112,000, while our sales program brought in $6.4 million, totaling $6.5 million in revenue for the fiscal year to date. And we are actively growing those two new revenue streams that I mentioned, leveraging digital advertising and digital marketing. So far, our online merchandise store and pop-up shop have generated over $45,000 in profits, driven by sales of co-branded MARTA Atlanta United merchandise, holiday sweaters, and socks at various events. And these initiatives not only really boost revenue, but it's really about enhancing our brand engagement. Sorry about that. All right. And so, just to give a quick update, here are a few advertising and sales highlights. Ad revenue is currently a little lower than expected due to the modified contract we've discussed previously, advertising policy changes, and overall just instability in the market since the start of the new year. However, we do remain on track to meet our 2025, end of year 2025 target of $4.5 million. The new bus shelter and maintenance vendor search process is underway, which could positively impact future advertising opportunities. And really, as we focus our efforts on we'll continue to explore creative sponsorship opportunities to maximize revenue and growth and engagement. Quick update on the sales outlook. 4 out of our 5 partnership programs saw growth year to date, with sales increasing by 3%. Our TMA sales remain flat, but direct partner sales are trending upward. Our ridership with sales programs remain 50% below FY20 levels, 2020 levels, underscoring the need for really and continued efforts to boost participation. And looking ahead, competitive fare options and strategic employer engagement will be critical to driving to growth. And as we look ahead to the remaining months in 2025 and the start of fiscal year 26, we remain focused on our 4 strategic marketing and sales priorities: increasing ridership, enhancing brand reputation, fostering customer engagement, and driving revenue growth. So we'll continue to really track our progress and adapt as needed and stay flexible to those, just meet the evolving needs of our customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Candida. Chair Ide?
Yeah, I love everything that you do, and I really love the Atlanta United collaboration. I had people around the holiday time who were desperate to get one of those hoodies. Yes. Do we intentionally make those exclusive, or do we just run out of merch, or is there a way to put them on the website? I don't know what the strategy is on that.
Well, the agreement with Atlanta United does not allow us to put it on the website, but we do host pop-up shops, and we do promote those well in advance when we have them. So we have, we'll be promoting them, we'll be selling them at the 404-day event in Piedmont Park next week.
Okay.
And so we hope to sell out, but then we'll be ready for the new season of merchandise that's launching in July.
That's great. I mean, I looked, there was the scarf. My husband lost mine. It was selling for $200 on eBay.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it was crazy. But I will direct my neighbors to the 404 pop-up because people love the yellow hoodie with the ball on the back. And then how do you go about looking for other people interested in collaborating on merchandise with MARTA? Is that,
Well, we haven't actually had a problem with that. We have a lot of people that have come to us, right, actually. And so we're looking at, there are a number of things that we're looking at. Obviously, their social media presence, does that what does that do for our brand, you know? And I think that's where we start, and then we determine whether or not it makes sense from a financial standpoint, because we can't do everything. But I think we're thinking about, like, what are some media moments that we can take advantage of, you know, with World Cup coming and all these different things. There are a lot of things that kind of go into it. But I think overall, if their brand aligns with our brand and then the business makes sense, then that's something we will pursue.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ms. Hartage?
You kind of answered my question, but with some of the big events that come to town, and we know who they are, but do we reach out to maybe the vendors that aren't normally in Atlanta but would be in Atlanta short term, that we might be a good advertising for them from the airport or on the train system, so that, you know, and I don't know if that's a cost effective method. So I just wanted to think outside the box a little bit. I know we've lost some of our advertising purposely because we voted to do that.
Yeah,
so just wanted to ask if we consider that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that our advertising partner is working, you know, they're working tirelessly to try to find new areas, but I've talked to the chairs about that. Even if there are personal relationships in the business community, there are companies that are interested in advertising on our system that, you know, we may know there are opportunities for sponsorship or those opportunities for them to advertise on our system. We can work with them directly on that.
Dr. Bolton Harris?
In the presentation, I was very happy to talk about families. Like I said, me being a native Georgian, you know, unfortunately, our perception of mass transit is that it's for people who are economically disadvantaged, where when I went to school in D.C., it was just like, oh, that's just what you do, as far as riding it. But and I see you're working with some of the schools within Atlanta proper. But what are you doing to kind of go outside in the suburban areas to look at how to partner with schools? I mean, even if because I talk to some of my friends and we talk about how, like, hey, we're going to send our kid for a destination. Yeah. Have them learn, because we know they're going to go out into the world and they're going to have to navigate the world, and mass transit is a part of it in other areas. How do you work to partner with schools to be able to try to do this, maybe like a scavenger hunt? You know, they turn this in, they may get a grade or something, but just really partnering with the school districts to try to help promote, because the youth is where the ridership is going to come from, making them be comfortable with riding MARTA as well.
Yeah, this was just a start. So our plan is to go anywhere that MARTA goes. We want to look at those school districts. So they came to us with this opportunity, because with the APS opportunity. But I think what we're starting out this year, and we'll start at HE Homes, but beyond that, we're gonna sort of expand our network.
And
of
I think
schools.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but even I've said this before, I think one of the things is having a high schooler, kids that are involved in engineering. MARTA has so many industry level professions, and this is a way to also be able to expose them to professions that keeps them coming back to the state when if they go to college, go out of the state and come back and help with economic development within here. So just something to think about, obviously, in the future.
Absolutely. Even at this event, we did have a tabling to learn about internships with MARTA and things like that. So it won't just be about transit. It will be all the things that we offer here at MARTA. So we're excited about doing that.
Ms. Pollock?
Thanks. I have a question about the direct partner sales and TMA sales. Is there a discount available through those programs if you're not buying a monthly pass? So
That's
if
a great
it's
question. Do you want to address that one?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is LaQuanza Rowell. I'm over the Transit Program Sales Program. I would say outside of the monthly pass, there is not a discount available. However, there are some initiatives that I'll be working with ChiNet on and hopefully bringing to the board that we can incorporate some different fare options in that program.
Thanks. I think that has been an area of interest I've heard from a lot of people over time, particularly post-pandemic, not wanting to commit to a full month pass, but wanting to have that in their pocket. So I would love to see that as an option out there.
I can't say that for our TMA and our direct partners, they do have access to purchase trip passes in the current program. So they are able to purchase a 10 trip or a 20 trip. It's just not discounted.
I think, yeah, totally. And I think that's sort of what is the benefit, right, for an employer to go through the partnership program. And it's a little bit easier to just put the onus on the employee, right, to buy it themselves, which it can be a challenge.
There are some technological improvements coming with AFC 2.0 that will allow us to look at fare capping and things like that.
Yes. That would be great. Thanks.
Mr. Durrett?
Do we currently do outreach to the colleges and universities within our footprint? Thank you. I'm getting to the point where words escape me, simple ones even, to where the schools might consider including MARTA passes in the student bills per semester, per quarter, that sort of thing, and would the upgrade to our fare system make it easier to be able to accommodate that sort of thing?
I can answer that for you, Mr. James Durant. Yes, I do currently do outreach to most of our universities, especially Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Emory, some of our bigger universities, where I participate in many of their programs to help educate students on transit, encourage them to ride transit. We are currently working with Georgia State on some type of full enrollment program, but we are in the very early stages of that. We are talking and trying to negotiate what a program like that would look like. So there will be more information later on to come with that. But that is something we are considering for the program, something that the students can pay via their transportation fare. But again, some of these things will require Board of Regents approval and some other approvals. But yes, that is something I am looking into currently.
I'm very encouraged to hear that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Follow up to Mr. Durrett's question. I know you said you were talking to all universities, but just wanted to ask specifically, are you in conversation with the AUC as well?
I have not been. One reason it's very hard to contact someone over there, but I do have a parent liaison that I work with over there who has been a very active member in trying to get the AU Center to really engage with MARTA.
Okay, let's talk offline because they're right by the West End train station,
Yeah.
and
Ashby.
typically, yeah, and typically when people talk about colleges in Atlanta, they say Georgia Tech and Georgia State, but we have the AUC, we have Atlanta Tech, which has a great population of students that rely on transit. So just wanting to think outside of those two institutions. Nothing wrong with them, but there are other institutions in the area.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else for us? Nope. Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll have our legislative update from Jennifer LaRosa.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I'm sorry I was missed last month. We were busy down at the Capitol, so it's nice to see some of the new board members. Jennifer LaRosa, Senior Director of Government Affairs, and today we will be doing a legislative update on where we stand now, as well as a little bit about the Government Affairs 2025 goals this year. So as sorry, let me do my greeting. Chair Jones, Vice Chair Williamson, CEO Greenwood, Mr. Parker, and all the other board members here with us today. Today is Legislative Day 36. The General Assembly only has 4 legislative days left after today in the calendar to get things done. Crossover Day, the last day in which the legislation has to make it out of the Chamber of Origin to stay viable through the session, was March 6th. And it was a long day under the Gold Dome. The House adjourned at 11 p.m., and we were there to the bitter end. Now let's talk about where MARTA's legislative agenda stands today. So BRT camera enforcement. In a year of camera repeal, which you might have heard a little bit about, HB 638, a bipartisan effort championed by Chairwoman Silcox, passed the House chamber in the early evening on crossover day with a vote of 146 yeas and 22 nays. The bill was assigned to Senate Transportation Committee. Chair Silcox and I presented the bill to the committee just yesterday. After a thorough Q&A, the bill passed out of committee with a vote of 7-2. This bill is now in Rules Committee waiting to be added to the floor calendar, and we'll give an update on that. This is the furthest this legislation has ever made in the years we have worked on this measure. So I want to thank everyone internally and externally that has answered some random question I sent and needing it by the end of the day, or talked to elected officials themselves, a lot of people in this room. I couldn't have done it without you, blowing up poster boards of the maps, anything and everything. I really appreciate it. No matter what happens, I'm very proud of where we stand with this and very positive about where it's going. So just thank you. And then tort reform, SB 68. The governor's tort reform measure was passed out of the Senate on February 21st with a vote of 33 to 21, assigned to a House Rules Subcommittee on lawsuit reform rather than the usual Judiciary Committee. This move of assigning it to that committee also showed Speaker Burns' commitment to seeing this legislation pass under the threat of a special session from Governor Kemp if the tort reform measure didn't pass in the regular legislative session. After 15 hours of testimony and multiple hearings in that committee, the legislation was passed out of the House on March 20th with the bare minimum 91 to 82. With a few changes and then receiving the necessary agree from the Senate the next day of a vote 34 to 21, the bill now awaits the governor's signature. MARTA did have an effort of a standalone tort reform legislation that would allow government authorities around the state to enjoy similar limited liability as the county and state counterparts. HB 678 was dropped, committed to committee, and heard all in one day in the House Government Affairs Committee. Although quite a feat to be able to do that, there's a number of concerns about all authorities involved, as well as concerns around anything tort reform related being committed to something that wasn't judiciary after SB 68. The legislation was tabled. We will utilize the time in the off season to work with lawmakers to discuss some relief as the only transit entity in the state that does not enjoy some amount of limited liability. And we are happy with the relief that we have received from SB 68 when it passes. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And if I get any questions, I might utilize my phone a lawyer on this one. So this bill provides some standards related to premises liability or negligent security to determine when a property owner is liable for actions of third parties. It also provides some evidence for the use of safe seatbelts to be admissible. Creates new code sections specifying that in injury and death cases, medical expenses would be limited to the expenses of medically necessary care. And then finally allows rights to bifurcated trials in any personal injury or wrongful death action, meaning one trial to determine liability and another to determine compensation. We've had quite a bit of engagement under the Gold Dome. There was a MARTOC meeting on March 11th where our consultant KPMG discussed their findings in the MARTA audit assessment and also explained the two methodologies used to each firm and why the results vary. We had a number of other updates. We're happy to have Chair Jones as well as Clayton Commissioner Reeves to join us at Transit Day at the Capitol, where we partnered with Advance Atlanta, the Georgia Transit Association, and transit entities around the state to discuss our goals and achievements with state legislators that were able to stop by. It was very successful this year. We were happy to see the number of turnout. We also did a brief legislative update to the City of Atlanta delegation on February 28th. This was decided the day before the meeting, so we didn't do our full usual update with the delegation, and we'll look to do that soon, and so the board members can join us. Lastly, we truly enjoyed having board members Rita Scott and Rod Frierson at the DeKalb State update, so thank you guys for joining us for that. Lastly, I wanted to take the opportunity to discuss the Government Affairs 2025 strategies. We do have great relationships with all of our elected officials, and they have no question about contacting us with anything that they may need to help them with. So we also have a number of newly elected officials in the jurisdictions that we are creating and fostering relationships with. We have invited each of those newly electeds to come down to either HQ or IOC, whatever's convenient, for deep dives into their projects and all other MARTA programs that we are so proud of. This will also allow them to meet folks from other departments to discuss those programs. We'll continue to make extra effort to offer briefings to affected electeds on new or changing initiatives, creating champions and stakeholders in these efforts. This could be a very similar example as a station rehab update and being in contact with the folks of that jurisdiction and that project and community. These meetings and conversations, we offer information and resources for community engagement early and often to amplify our reach. So that kind of talks to some of what you were talking about, Mr. Durrett. We are utilizing our government affairs relationships to get those community involvement messages out. To enhance our stakeholder communication as well, we mentioned we have consistent open dialogue with so many of our electeds, but To ensure we never miss an opportunity, we're executing regular check-ins with our electeds and not waiting for them just to reach out to us. In these communications, we also offer briefings with stakeholders of the communities and businesses, like the downtown group working on the streetscape project, to ensure we're aligned and supportive in strategies and messaging. To ensure our consultants are aligned with our goals and messaging, we'll continue our regularly scheduled consultant calls to utilize all resources at hand to maximize our effectiveness in fostering these relationships on every level of government. We'll also have our consultants more involved and updated on project details and efforts such as the quarterly briefings process to help with the feedback on that content, and so that these presentations, we ensure that the content and information is what the electeds are looking for. With that, I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Forrest. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. All right, last and certainly not least, we will have our briefing on our 2025 public engagement goals and strategies. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Williamson, Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Parker, and members of the External Relations Committee. I'm Toni Thornton, Acting Director of Public Engagement. Today's agenda highlights the mission, responsibilities, and 2025 goals and strategies for the Office of Public Engagement. As a department, we recognize that public engagement is essential for building strong relationships within the communities we serve. We are committed to ongoing collaboration through engagement, communication, and feedback, which positions MARTA as a valued, trusted partner. After reviewing the mission and assessing our various initiatives and responsibilities, we explored ways to enhance and refine our goals and strategies, which I'll share in this presentation, outlining key improvements to strengthen our impacts. The public engagement team serves as MARTA's liaison, keeping stakeholders informed and updated about projects, different activities, and programs at the authority. We respond to customers, residents, community and business organizations, and local and county governments. We strive to be an actively engaged member of the community by contributing through a wide range of programs, services, and activities. Some of what we do include MARTA public hearings, handling special bus requests. We review and approve station activation submittals from organizations we partner with to share important educational materials with our riders. Additionally, you might find us on Peachtree Road at a City of Atlanta Propel Atlanta Streets Alive event, where we're having fun with residents in the community and providing information about our Rapid A line currently under construction. Or you may find us in Riverdale, working in partnership with Clayton County and Goodard Grocery Markets to provide free food to MARTA riders and community members, which is scheduled to kick off this year, April 22nd. Then you may run into us on Campbellton Road, hosting a roundtable, providing updates and answering questions about the MARTA Rapid Campbellton project for community leaders in the Campbellton corridor. We also conduct employee outreach to ensure all employees are informed and updated about MARTA projects and initiatives. As you see, our public engagement efforts spans across the system, internally and externally. Here are a few additional photos showcasing some of our public engagement activities and partnership events. Atlanta Streets Alive on the left, which is an ongoing partnership, and it kicks off April 27th this year. The center photo was last month at a Clayton County school for their STEM Career Day program, which is also an ongoing relationship with our school systems. The photo on the right is a reduced fare pop-up event at the Georgia International Convention Center, hosted by Fulton County Commissioner Khadijah Abdul Rahman, where we engage hundreds of seniors countywide, and this event is scheduled to happen again May 28th. 102 events last year, with plans to surpass that in 2025. Shown here
our goals to improve communication and foster long-lasting relationships. First, we aim to proactively strengthen collaboration and alliances with community stakeholders. We'll continue our current efforts. However, to enhance relationships, we're building a stakeholder roundtable to share important information and updates, which you'll hear more about later in the presentation. Second, we plan to increase participation in external meetings and events by growing our team to ensure MARTA staff can regularly attend events like MPU meetings, town halls, and community gatherings. Our goal is to attend at least 10 events monthly. Third, we're focused on automating and streamlining our process for external requests from schools, organizations, and jurisdictional partners, working with IT to ensure quick, easy online submissions and responses. Now back to the stakeholder roundtable. The primary goals of the stakeholder roundtable are to strengthen relationships, enhance collaboration, and improve communication by informing, educating, and gathering feedback from stakeholder networks. Modeled after the Rider Advisory Council, this pilot program will convene a diverse group of community stakeholders, including advocacy groups and representatives of LEP, limited English proficiency, and disability communities. Plans are to meet this year at MARTA headquarters with the potential to meet quarterly in the future. These sessions will have light meals and feature presentations from MARTA subject matter experts, ensuring stakeholders understand key initiatives and have an opportunity for dialogue, feedback, and questions. Partner toolkits will be provided as well to support information sharing and help us expand engagement efforts to a broader audience. Our office will serve as a direct liaison, connecting stakeholders with the appropriate MARTA staff to address their needs and ultimately facilitate meaningful engagement to build stronger, long-lasting alliances. Before I conclude, I'd like to introduce Christina Duque, part of the public engagement team. You'll see Christina out and about at different activities around the region. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments regarding the Office of Public Engagement and our initiatives for 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton, and thanks for all of your work. Any questions? Ms. Pollock?
I'm really sorry because I know this is the last presentation. I just have a quick question. I'm excited about this stakeholder roundtable. I think there are a lot of community groups who want to be more engaged. Do you foresee an opportunity down the line to potentially compensate those stakeholder groups, or as they can become further ingrained and help support engagement in the communities?
So in terms of compensating stakeholder groups, I think I would defer to leadership on that, but I think that we may be able to look at some initiatives as far as, MARTA Merge or Breeze Cards or something for, working with us. But again, I would work closely with leadership on that.
Yeah, I mean, gut check here, I would say as a public agency, we wouldn't be compensating with financially. We treat them well while they're in our presence. And I think the volunteerism is an added measure of dedication to the cause. They're not there for the funds, they're there for the, and that would be consistent with all of our other groups that come in from the outside and engage with us. So I think to be consistent, that's, plus our budget really doesn't support that kind of engagement.
Sure. I was thinking more of just some interesting models I've seen around the country where like longer term stakeholder groups can be used in service to broader community engagement.
Yeah.
And in those models, they're typically paid because they're offering those services similar to like a consulting firm maybe. So sort of, is there an opportunity to build that in the long term? Are we interested in building that in the long term to kind of further build that community support?
It's something, we'll look at anything, right? Okay. So but my gut response would be, here's why we don't, but we can take a look at other models and see what we learn.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Frierson? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Thornton.
Thank you.
Are there any other matters that need to come before this committee? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.
You were pretty quick there. You didn't give any video. a chance.